Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's second episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Boomstick XL, and I have surrounded myself with not only some of the best young and upcoming talent on YouTube, I like to consider them friends that hopefully at one point or another I will get a chance to meet in real life. So let's get into the introduction so we can get down with all of these outstanding topics. Now, first off, you know him as someone that not only did he buy Resident Evil on one console, he bought it on two because he wants to play at midnight with his headphones on in the dark by himself, and he's hoping that the nemesis is not that knock at the door. Please welcome Zemi Games.
Boom! I bought it on everything, man. On PC, on Switch. Can you even get it on Switch? I don't even have a Switch.
There's rumors.
I got it for everything, even the consoles I didn't have. No, I would never buy that game. I'd never play it. But I'm super excited to be here, man. I really really wish I could have been on Tuesday's show. Those topics looked absolutely fantastic, and I was kicking myself in the butt as soon as I woke up. From passing out, trying to get rid of this migraine, because I just wanted to be on the show so badly. So I'm just super happy to be on today's show and just can't wait to jump into the topics, man.
Well, it's great to have you back, and I'm glad that you're feeling better because, unfortunately, I am a migraine sufferer as well, and in the past, they've lasted, for me anyway, as much as a week. And there's nothing worse with going to bed with a headache to wake up with one and have to deal with that. So I'm glad that you're feeling better. Yep. Next up, you know him as someone that I consider not only a breath of fresh air for the PlayStation Nation, a gamer who talks about each console equally. Please welcome Mr. Bad Bit.
What's up, everybody? I'm back. It's weird. I'm doing more Xbox shows than PlayStation, and I like it. You know what? It's different.
Well, it's great to have you. It's great to have you, Joe. Really appreciate you hanging out with us. If you didn't know, he put up a new video talking about the new and recently announced PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. So get over to his channel and watch that video. And last and no way least, someone who has not had any audio problems so far. Thank goodness. He is someone that represents the Xbox brand in a proper manner. He has an amazing podcast I think everyone needs to check out on a weekly basis. Please welcome Luke. What's going on, dude?
Man, not much. I am so happy to be back with you guys. Love this panel. Super excited to talk about these topics this week. So let's get to it, man.
You know, for first, what I would like to do is I have been in the DM for a couple of weeks now with two particular amazing community members. One, of course, is D Black Raven, and the other is Archimedes. And they have been in contact with me. And this morning, as soon as I got up, they had sent me something that I found not only unbelievably interesting, but super exciting if you have been watching the change of the way Microsoft does their business. And we have a new rumor, and that's what we're going to open up with today's show. And we're going to kind of toss this around to the panel, toss this around to the chat, and maybe someone will kind of figure out what the heck is going on. So here is the rumor. Now, this rumor was posted by Sean MN, who I don't know who he is, but the detail in this particular rumor / leak is so precise that there's got to be some truth behind it. And I think that Luke mentioned that Shinobi on Twitter, who's notorious for dropping nugget bombs when it comes to breaking news, actually tweeted this. Now, this is what it says. Sounds like there might be some Xbox-related embargoed news for Monday, April 13th, per the latest episode of IGN's Unlocked. And they talk about this at the 1 hour and 14-minute mark. Next week, IGN's Miranda Sanchez, who's recently joined Podcast Unlocked, from what I understand, has a very, very, very exciting piece going up on Monday. So please stay tuned for that. It will be very relevant to the Xbox audiences. I wonder if that's related to the recent teasing we've been seeing today on social media. So let's get right into this. And Luke, I want to start with you because you mentioned Shinobi. And Shinobi, as we know, some people consider him to be an industry insider. Some people consider him to actually be an insider because his identity is, of course, secret, other than his pretty cool mustache that he put on social media the other day. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's exciting because he is well known for being informed about the industry from any number of angles. He does have connections that are worthwhile, and that's proven on a regular basis. So I really like hearing that. The timing is interesting given that we just had an Inside Xbox, and you would think that with a week removed, you would have that news included in something like an Inside Xbox to perhaps lend credibility or clout to that presentation. But I think it also kind of coincides with what we've been hearing about Microsoft wanting to control the news cycle, be aggressive, and have something to announce on a regular basis with regular cadence. So it certainly makes sense. I like that there's something there. I hope that we don't do what we sometimes do and hype ourselves up to make it something that it's not. Miranda Sanchez is a wonderful presenter of information, and she often has really fun features. But this could be very, very small and minute and exciting for Xbox people, but it may not be industry breaking. And what Shinobi said about New Worlds is not necessarily new information, because we've known about a lot of those things, but it's super exciting to talk about. And I'm just anxious to find out what it is, but trying to keep myself from overdoing it on the hype.
Okay, I mean, well, that makes sense. Obviously, the last thing I think any Xbox fan wants to do is get themselves overly excited or hyped on a particular unknown topic, and then when it drops, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's kind of like the right. You know what? Listen,
looks like there's
you hear my my Google's talking to me, but I didn't talk to my Google. How funny is that?
Google wants in on this. You're like, bye.
She wants to know.
She wants to know. Yes, Google wants to know. How funny is that live on the air? Okay, well, listen. You know what? Let me get to Zemi Games. Zemi, listen. Obviously. Yeah. We have had, as Xbox fans, been very fortunate, been very excited to know anything about what Microsoft is doing. You know, the new swagger that the company and the brand has is infectious. And with that said, hearing this new rumor, you know, obviously the last 2 Mondays I've been waiting by social media like a watchdog, hoping that something would drop so I can, you know, put some content out there. And, you know, it's just great stuff to talk about. And the last 2 Mondays, there's been nothing. So now that we're hearing we might get something interesting on Monday, what are your thoughts on what it is, and what do you hope that it is more than anything?
I mean, well, I could make predictions, but like 95% of the time I'm usually wrong anyway. So, but you know, you actually kind of said something like, you know, you don't want to get overhyped about it, right? You don't want to, you know, think of it as being one thing, and then, you know, it comes out and it's not really what you thought it was, and then you're a little bit depressed. Like, I don't even care about that. Like, I'm thinking about every single possible thing. What could it be? Like, I really, you know, I think it would be amazing if they finally announced Fable 4. I would love that. I think it would be amazing if they announced a new studio. I don't know why they would just do that randomly, but why not, right? But ultimately, I really have no idea what they're going to do. I would imagine it's probably, I mean, I don't think it would be hardware, right? Because Phil even kind of said that he kind of wants to, you know, start talking about, you know, more about games and stuff. So I would kind of be shocked if it was hardware. I mean, it might be. But I would imagine it's a game of some sort, or maybe a new studio. That's what I would put my money on, but I'm usually wrong anyway. But Fable 4, yes, please show it to us. I want to see that.
I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I think again, I could be 1,000% wrong, and like you, more than not, I am because obviously
I'm like always wrong.
We make these assumptions, we make these predictions, and we're not inside baseball players, right? We're not inside industry players. A lot of us don't even have like what you would consider a major connection. Like, I can't call up, you know, Johnny Two-Tone and ask him about the latest Xbox information, and he drops it in my hands. But with that said, we do occasionally get it right. And what I'd like to say is that it would be unbelievably epic if somehow or another something as big as Fable 4 was dropped on an IGN. And again, not taking anything away from IGN. I mean, they do have millions and millions of subscribers and followers, but it would be it would be really shocking to me as an Xbox gamer, because I think that that particular title holds so much credence with its players that it would be almost considered unorthodox to see them drop something so big on a a Manic Monday. But you know what? Let me get a Mr. Badbit's opinion on this. First of all, you cover PlayStation mostly, but you also are a rounded gamer where you can talk about Xbox in a proper manner without have to grinding your teeth and saying something nice. Yeah. For you, we just had this huge controller drop from Sony, which we're actually going to be talking about later on in the show. And now we're hearing that this particular Monday, this upcoming Monday, we could have something potentially big. And I don't think they necessarily would use the word "very" 3 times if it was just, hey, we got a new, colored, controller coming out. I think there's got to be something to it. What are your thoughts on what it actually could be?
So I want to put expectations at check first and foremost, because sometimes us gamers, we get a little bit overhyped, right? So first and foremost, still a rumor. This may not happen. We might not see anything, or what we do see, maybe it is a new controller. You know what I mean? So first and foremost, have your expectations on check. Now that you have them checked, let me get you freaking excited here. Shinobi says, right, I'm incredibly excited at what's coming from Xbox. Gorgeous fantasy worlds, reboots, big sci-fi, ... should be a lot of fun. And so as we're now on this road to greatness, that is the Xbox Series X. When I'm thinking gorgeous fantasy worlds, I am thinking Fable. I am thinking Playground Games, which has been the most spoiled rumor now for years that they've been working on it. So I think reboots and fantasy worlds work hand in hand, right? We're rebooting a beloved franchise.
I like what you're saying.
From a very beloved. Oh, dude, I'm on board.
Keep talking.
I like what he's saying. Are you sure you're not an Xbox guy?
Nah, man. What if it's Perfect Dark though? He said reboots and sci-fi. Perfect Dark fits that mold.
It could, but the reason why I'm going with Fable here is I'm picturing when Phil Spencer's like, we're going to have 1 to 2 launch games for the Series X. I'm thinking how to diversify that portfolio. You want something fantasy, maybe an action RPG, and then big sci-fi. I'm thinking Halo. So you're getting what shooters love, and you're getting what maybe RPG or action fans want, and you're having both those big titles at launch. I think that, and hopefully like Fable is like a solo experience. So like you're getting this awesome story as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Give me the Jack. What is it? The Jack of Blades. Yes. Give me that rebooted storyline. Oh my God. So good. So like give me something like that. So then, fanboys can shut up about Xbox not having good story games. And then, you give us the multiplayer experience out of Halo, and you kind of get the best of both worlds. I do think, Xbox is going to tap the well of Rare with their IPs that they have again. Perfect Dark, I think, is another one people.
Cameo would be a great reboot. I don't know how many people play Cameo. Cameo is amazing.
Yeah, and I think you could hand that off to a second party studio and have something really fun out of it. So to me, the thing that excites me the most right now is now we're starting to see the cogs turn in information that is actually useful for us, because we could throw 10 teraflops, 12 teraflops, whatever. Those are just numbers. We can't actually see them. Now we're actually going to see the effect of what these numbers can do. And so we're going to see, Fable, we're going to see Halo, we're going to see how gorgeous, ray tracing could be. Now, again, leveled expectations if you're not totally blown away by it, because whatever thing you're looking at, this is the one I think trick that marketing on both sides is going to have to do. If you're looking at a monitor that's not 4K or not HDR, you might go, well, it didn't look that great. Hopefully by this time enough people have a 4K display that you're going to get what they're trying to shoot at you here. So for me, this excites me because we're starting to see Sony and Microsoft going tit for tat on each other. That's the
it's fun for everybody when this happens, because as gamers, who wins?
Yeah,
who wins?
Us.
Does Sony win? Does Microsoft win? No. At the end of the day, we win. Yes.
And that back and forth, that's our new sports, guys.
Yes.
That's the best part. That's the fun part. Watching that
I
controller
love it.
GIF, which I know we'll talk about, it's the best because we win and we get to have so many cool talking points from it. It's exciting, and my blood is boiling right now. I like it.
And also, if I could just add here,
Sure.
the one thing that I really do like from Xbox is that they have a portfolio that looks different from each game that they have. Yeah, you have the futuristic war stuff out of Gears and Halo, but like you're starting to see things like Everwild's Grounded. You're starting to see Sea of Thieves. Like if we're making a Fable, I want Fable to take inspiration. Luke, you're gonna love this, and so am I. Take inspiration from the original art style, but maybe even lend itself to something of a Darksiders or Warcraft in terms of art direction. Like that. That would be really cool.
That'd be really so cool.
Get different. That's what I want, and that's what they've been delivering. So I'm all on board.
It's funny you should even say that, and it's funny that we're even having this conversation because first of all, I got to catch up on the super chats, and the generosity just once again completely blows me away. Philly Eagle, who is a huge supporter of this channel, and I'm a big fan of his. He shows his generosity by dropping a $10 super chat and says this: I want to nip the photorealistic versus cartoony thing in the bud. Since people want to use the popularity and or sales as a metric, the most popular and highest selling games are in fact cartoony. #fun, #no plastic loyalty. That's great. And Sin Vendetta, another big supporter of Double Barrel Gaming, drops an outrageous $25 super chat and says this: having the Xbox Factor podcast in the morning is great, especially with games being delayed. I like the game Hellpoint by Cradle Games, which was coming out on April 16th, which I was really looking forward to. Thank you, Boom. Well, no, thank you, dude, for being here. And I'm glad that I could provide some sort of a relief from the world's problems right now. Is something as minuscule and simple as a podcast. And Philly Eagle once again drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says this: in addition, as an additional point, don't worry about the graphical direction. Just play what you find fun, period. If you're not having fun, why are you playing? That is, my God, that's no better truth-spoken words.
Absolutely.
And Sir X-Men drops a $2 super chat. Hey, another gentleman that I enjoy working with and who has been on the show before, drops a $2 super chat and says this: Konami bought the rights to Bloody Roar. Oh, man, I love Bloody Roar. Oh, my God. I imported that from Japan on I believe it was a PlayStation 2, was it? I think it was
PS1.
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 No, okay, so
demo
PS1.
Disc. That was demo disc one.
I imported that from Japan because I was a huge fighter back in the days. I bought all of them. Even if they were terrible, I bought them because I loved fighting games. And I bought that one on a whim. And my God, that was so good. I would love to see a Killer Instinct graphics upgrade to Bloody Roar. Oh, sign me right up. But so I mean, listen,
I could just say one thing here.
Sure.
To kind of elevate this. It doesn't like photorealism is great and all. It's cute. It's whatever. It's all about art direction. And like they're totally right here. It's all about like cartoony games sell. Like Overwatch is insanely popular. Look at Fortnite. Like Fortnite could be like, that's why I always say teraflops. This argument doesn't matter. It's about the experience you're putting on those teraflops, because Fortnite could be run on a toaster at this point. It's the most popular game in the world. Like Valorant right now, 1.2 million views on Twitch. It looks plain Jane, and it's a lot of people love it. And that's get back to the games. Stop the plastic loyalty. I couldn't agree more, Philly.
And to your point about art direction, when you look at that, one thing that is important for any first party, Microsoft especially, diversity in that art direction is important. You don't want all your games to look the same.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know that there are going to be some people that will say, Sony, a lot of their games look the same. Look, I know they're not for everybody. I know this is an Xbox, centric, show, which we're going to keep it moving along. But I actually don't mind those types of games. Now, if Fable were to release, because I know that I got really booed. This is when Welsh Gamer was still on, and I made a comment saying, well, I hope that the next Fable is something like The Witcher. And my goodness, did the boo birds come out?
Now, I booed you. I booed you.
You booed me. Yes.
Yeah, I booed you. Yeah.
So here's the thing. I don't want a Witcher Fable. I don't. I honestly don't. I would actually be perfectly okay with getting just a modern version of what we know to be Fable. There are a lot of people in this chat. There are a lot of people that I've spoken to behind closed doors that want that British-esque humor that the game is notoriously known for, and would feel that it wouldn't be a proper Halo if it didn't have the chicken kicker. You know what I'm saying? Or the silliness of what made the game what it is. And I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't have any clue as to what direction they would go in. I know, cartoony versus, photorealistic, but I am going to tell you about a game. I just bought it yesterday for $5. Then I'm going to play through it again. It's backwards compatible. Kingdoms of Amalur. If you've never played that game, I am telling you right now, please, for the love of Jehovah, go to Xbox, go to their sale. It's $5. I am telling you right now, Kingdoms of Amalur is one of the gems in the crown of the Xbox 360. Yes, it came up for the PlayStation as well, but this is a game that got very little love. And I am telling you, if you like action adventures, if you like Fable, if you like Horizon Zero Dawn, if you like God of War, those open world treasure hunting, level building kinds of games, it is going to be the best $5 you have ever spent. And now I know you guys went ood and odd. Who wants to jump in here on Kingdoms of Amalur?
Oh, dude.
I do. Tag me in.
All right, you're
first.
in.
That game was the first game, I believe, in the achievement system that I got more than 1K on, thanks to the DLC.
Yes.
I was buying the expansions on that. It was fast. It was fluid. The art design was incredible. Todd McFarlane had his hand in it.
Yes.
That game's got a really, really weird story for how it got to our controllers, and I would encourage anybody to go down a Wikipedia rabbit hole. But Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, it is a travesty that series hasn't been repicked back up despite its weight. But what a cool and incredible game. And you had these chakrams which you could throw Xeno Warrior Princess style, except you looked real cool doing it. And you could make anything you wanted with your character. Incredibly cool weapons and effects.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this game. Good call, man.
I tell you something, it probably is the best controlled game when you're using a hack and slash versus magic. You go seamlessly through both cycles. I'm telling you, folks, if you're listening to the show, and we have 225 people already here, I am telling you, please, if you have a spare $5, right now we are all stuck in the homes. We're all stuck at home. And if you're looking for an unbelievable single-player, story-driven experience that was found on yesteryear on the old consoles, that still, it looks good. And I believe it actually is enhanced for the Xbox Series X if you have it. Please go spend that $5. I mean, go check your points. You might be able to get the game for free. You know what I'm saying? So, Joe, you want to jump in here, brother?
Oh, no, I wanted to jump in because Kingdoms of Amalur is one of my co-host, Kyle, on the Trophy Room. That's one of his favorite games of all time. And I would love to see that game. And I mean, it's coming back. THQ bought that.
Yeah, THQ Nordic did, in fact, buy the license. That is correct.
But I do want to go to one comment that I saw here from, I believe, Dustin Lambert, where, they were talking about, look at a game like, Wind Waker or even Breath of the Wild. We can even use that cel-shaded look. Ages so freaking well. And it's really... I can't stress this enough. The power of the art style. I want to see something different. If we're going to see Fable, the thing that gives me hope in it is Playground is not just a talented studio, one of the best studios out there, but they're also British. And so see that studio carry that title, carry what that, the culture of that game gets me super pumped, gets me super excited.
I mean, listen, again, we don't know what that title is going to look like, but I'm going to be honest with you. If it, in fact, it's probably the worst kept secret, and I think at this point they just have to let the cat out of the bag because it's literally hanging out, and the only thing in the bag is its tail at this point. I'm hoping that again, Monday is going to be interesting. I'm going to be watching like a hawk, and It's I cannot wait to see what they're doing. Again, if they continue to do this back and forth thing, it's so exciting, especially if you are a fan of gaming. If you are in the trenches on social media and you're seeing this back and forth, it's exciting because you know that both companies are going to be bringing it 100% next generation, and it's going to, everyone wins when there's competition. Yeah, and I believe, Joe, you said something that's very similar a few shows ago that I actually got a tremendous amount of feedback on, and you are correct. You are 1,000% correct. When they go back and forth, they make the other better.
It's something that I've been saying for years now. When Xbox was at the lowest of the low, we try our best not to take shots on the trophy room because we're championing gaming first and we're just covering PlayStation. But I always said that I want Xbox to punch PlayStation in the mouth. I want them to get aggressive. I want them to showcase what they got because they have so much potential and they do have the IPs. And now as we're starting to see Xbox take the first coming jabs, that gets me so excited because yeah, there is someone going after the crown that is PlayStation, and it's so exciting to watch how these companies are reacting to each other. That's what I'm getting excitement from. It's not like the whole thing of who did it best doesn't interest me nearly of how they're doing it and why they're doing it. And so to see Xbox take these moves that they've been doing and just killing it on the marketing side, we were talking about it before. They're the social media teams having fun with what they're doing right now. You can tell they get it. They understand the temperature in the room that is their ecosystem. And yeah, to see them drop all these little tidbits along the way. And again, we'll see on Monday, but that gets me so excited. As again, someone who prefers the PlayStation ecosystem, gets me excited to see that there's someone saying, whoa, but what about our ecosystem right here? We got things that matter.
No, absolutely. Well, real quick before we move on to the next topic, and this one's going to be a good one. Christophilus drops a $2 super chat and says this: Dirty Beard, I wish PlayStation brought back Battle Arena Toshinden. That was actually one of my first imports, along with Tekken and Kalik the Blood for the PlayStation 1, the original OG's PlayStation. I imported that from Japan. I got those 3 games, and then I believe a few days later, I got Ridge Racer. Man, what a great lineup for I imported back in the days like a lunatic. And Kirsten Pullum drops a $5 super chat and says, "Hey guys, I'm fairly new to the podcast. Just want to show support." Well, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the show. We love new people coming in. We also, I can't thank you enough for the outstanding generosity. It's greatly appreciated. And our good friend Pixelbit G drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says this: "Give me Fable in the vein of Sid Meier's, I should say, pirates that evolves over 70 years, like Peter M. first envisioned. You take your hero from young to legend, competing with other heroes with replayability." Wow, I mean
I would love that.
That would be epic because that would be a game that you can play forever.
And Sid Meier's Pirates is easily still in my top 10 games of all time. Like, I love
how that would be modernized. That's cool. I like that. I like that idea as well.
Yeah, me too. I mean, listen, anything that extends a game to make it worthy of playing for hundreds of hours, sign me right up. But Sir X-Man drops an additional $2 super chat and says this: I still have, but I'm going to pick up that Kingdom. Oh yeah, you got to definitely pick it up. He says, and he drops another super chat. Says correction, add-on, small, still working. I'll get the game. Yes, absolutely. You got to get that. And Masshole 1977. Thanks for being here. Oh no, don't. He says this. He drops a $2 super chat. Says this: rumor, Donnie D is coming back to next gen Xbox. That's not happening. J Mo Money drops a $2 super chat and says, "I just got Bulletstorm for $6. Oh my god!" If you again, I know that we got to move it along with topics, but he paid $6 for Bulletstorm. That's another game by People Can Fly. It is an amazing, gory, bloody, great time. If you're looking for something good call JMO money with the with that Bulletstorm again, another one for $11. If you had to spare $11 and you bought Bulletstorm and you bought Kingdoms of Amalur, I can assure you that you're going to play 50 plus hours of those two games for $11. So just do the math on how much you're spending compared to what you're getting.
Yep. Boom. I will tell you, that's a good time to remind people that spring sale is going on right now.
Yes.
And with the time we got, there's a lot of great back and pack games.
I spent $43 yesterday on the spring sale.
Dude, hey, I bought Terminator on your recommendation. I just snagged Syndicate, which is back compat. That has a cast that includes Rosario Dawson and Yuri Lowenthal in there, which is cool. That was like $7. It's a great time to dive back in and check out stuff. Use your money wisely. Get a ton of stuff. I'm playing Dragon's Dogma right now. It's a great time to enjoy some of that stuff from that spring sale.
Yeah, you know what? Last night I picked up DC Lego Villains. It was originally $75. It was 11 and change. Oh no, that one was 21 and change. And I picked up Marvel Superheroes 2 Lego, and that was originally like $90 worth of content. I think I wound up actually, because I cashed in $12 in points, and I wound up spending like $250 for that game.
Nice.
So it's
great, man.
Yeah. It basically it's free. So yeah, if you are an Xbox fan, and obviously we're all in a position where money is somewhat budgeted, check out the spring sale, because you could definitely rack up. I mean, there are hundreds of games in there, and you might find something like for instance, what was the Capcom one that was it was like a fighting one? Oh my god, begin with an A. I bought it last night.
Asura's Wrath?
Yes.
Okay.
I bought that for $5. And it's enhanced. It's an enhanced game, and the game is no one played that game. I can tell you, no one played Asura's Wrath. It is amazing. Check that out. And Real K Asante drops a $10 super chat and says this: I just got my IRS return and just rebought Kingdoms of Amalur on my X. Played it on PC during 360 days. Nice. Thanks for the recommendation, Boom. Wonder if Kurt Schilling will get some of that money. I don't know, but he borrowed a lot of money from Boston, and he had to pay some of that back. So I don't know. And Kirsten Pullman drops another $2 super chat and says this: even as a PlayStation guy, I know how Xbox is moving. Well, I mean, listen, look, at the end of the day, I think that as we move into the next generation, I think, and I said this before, and I'm going to say it again, I think that the days of PlayStation guys and gals and Xbox guys and gals, that demographic is shrinking, because what we're going to be privy to in the next generation in regards to these consoles is going to be unlike anything we've ever experienced in gaming. And again, not everyone can afford to support both consoles. I completely understand that, and would never shame anyone for doing that, because it is an expensive hobby. People have families, they have rents, they have mortgages, they have light bills, they have car payments. They have, life gets in the way of usually you having fun, like it is currently right now in the world. But I think that this particular generation is going to be the one generation that we're going to look back 20 years from now and say that generation right there was the turning point where more and more people are going to be doing dual and triple supports, meaning that you're going to be supporting the Switch, which they're going to launch a Pro. That's not coming this year. That's coming next year for sure. And of course, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And we're all going to be better gamers for it, because at that point, you completely remove away the console war stuff, because you can say, well, you know what, like for instance, this particular Friday, and we're going to be talking about it tomorrow on Breakfast with Boom, PlayStation is getting Final Fantasy VII. I'm not waiting a year. Mine's already out for delivery. I'm hopefully getting it today so I can start playing tonight. I cannot wait to play that game. And I think that more gamers are going to start moving in that direction. But let's move on to the next topic. And this one is going to be a fun one, because as the debate on power and SSD and SSD price, speed and price, value, GPU and CPU strength will rage on for both consoles until they're released, Sony dropped a bomb yesterday with a 1 hour before the new episode of Inside Xbox was going live. And that's right, the new PlayStation controller called the DualSense was revealed and took the interwebs by storm. And in fact, I would dare say it's exactly what Sony needed. Now, the question, though, and I'm sure there's going to be people in the chat, but wait a second, Boom, this is an Xbox show. What are you doing? Or you're ruining my peanut butter by putting your chocolate in there. So I thought it would be kind of fun, because we have an amazing panel, that we would do this, a versus kind of a thing. Who did it better? Who has the better next-gen controller? So let me just read the exact quote from the PlayStation blog, and then we're going to reel this back in to who did it better.
Yeah.
We reached an exciting milestone with the PlayStation 5 as we are starting to ship our new controller in its final design to developers who are implementing its unique features into their games. But first, we wanted everyone in the PlayStation community to get a first look at the DualSense wireless controller and hear our vision for our new controller with and the new controller will captivate more of your senses as you interact with it in virtual worlds in the PlayStation 5 universe. The features of the DualSense, along with the PS5's Tempest 3D audio tech, will deliver a new feeling of immersion to players. Now, okay, so we have to reel this back in, because obviously this is an Xbox show, but we're going to compare. We're going to give our opinions on who's doing the controller better. But I have to say, we're going to talk about this for a second. In the so-called social media space, where we were talking about going tit for tat, going after one another, making each other better, making each other a better champion. As soon as this happened, what did Xbox on Twitter, the official account, do? Well, they put a post out there where they said to look at this, and it was a GIF of the Xbox Series X controller, and I thought it was ballsy. I thought it was fun. That's it. Joe was just talking about that, about the social media now having fun. Yeah. It was a polite jab back at Sony after Sony took a jab at Microsoft, dropping this 1 hour before Inside Xbox, which we're going to break down later on in the show. So I want to start with Zemi. Zemi, first of all, make sure Zemi's here. Oh, Zemi, you are here. Okay.
I'm always, well, I wasn't, on Tuesday, but I'm usually always here.
So first of all, let's talk about the back and forth that went on yesterday on social media. Inside Xbox happened. Some people loved it. Some people thought it was lukewarm. Some people disliked it. That's fine. We're going to get to that later on in the show. Mm-hmm. But Sony did what Sony has done in the past. Right before Microsoft was supposed to talk about something or have a show or do something, they got creative in their marketing. This was the marketing that we've seen all this generation, and they dropped the controller. Now, I don't want to say it backfired, because there are a lot of people that really like this controller, and I am one of them. But I'm going to say there are a lot of people that didn't. And you, my friend, do not like this controller. First of all, what are your thoughts on the controller? And secondly, let's talk about the jab that was sent back by Microsoft by putting out the Series X controller right after Sony did this.
Yeah, so, I guess to kind of just start off, it's definitely a good move for Sony to get out there as much as they can. Them dropping this controller, ultimately, I think is a good thing. I think there's a lot of people that like it. I think there's a lot of people that think it's, absolutely ugly and looks like a bra, hashtag me. But, ultimately it's a good thing, because they've been so quiet, and to finally, put any news out there to excite the PlayStation community is a huge, huge thing. So them, releasing that is definitely a good go. Xbox, coming back with their controller, it's just comical in my opinion. But it's kind of Xbox is keeping the mind share. They're keeping all of the attention on them. Sony just came out, they had their moment in the sun, and then Xbox comes and tries to shadow them, which is an amazing strategy. And it, has worked for PlayStation so many years before this, and it's really doing wonders for Xbox now as a brand as well. But as far as the controller, I will say this: controllers are always, subjective. Some people like, both the analog sticks right next to each other. I don't, but there are a lot of people that really love that. So, you know, to debate which controller is better, I don't really think that we could do that. For me, I just don't like the look of it. I don't like the aesthetic of it. I think it looks just ugly. And you know, and it does have a lot more features, or it seems to have a lot more features. You know, watching Austin Evans' video on it, apparently it has a built-in microphone, which, you know, as soon as I heard that, I started smacking my head like, why would they do that? I don't know if, from what it sounded like in Austin Evans' video, is you could use the microphone, I guess, to like talk to people over Xbox Live, or not Xbox, well, PSN.
Yes.
Without actually having to plug in a microphone. I think that sounds awful, because you're going to hear all like the analog clacking together and all that different stuff. And chances are somebody that's going to use a microphone on their controller is probably not going to be using a headset. So then you're going to hear everybody else screaming in the Xbox or in like Call of Duty lobby coming through the control. I just don't understand why they put a microphone on the controller. That just seemed like a waste. I think one of like the more exciting parts about this controller is the share button, and it's not just the share button. I think, didn't they say it was like the create button or something?
Create button, yes, that's what it's called now.
Yeah,
yes,
I think that is actually really, really exciting, and I'm very I'm looking forward to seeing what all of that is about and what all that will entail. Because I mean, you know, it sounds like it's going to be more than just taking screenshots and taking videos. So I'm really, you know, interested to see that. But, you know, overall, really and truly, the PlayStation controller, it may be the greatest controller that anyone has ever put their hands on, right? I'm not going to know until I take it out of the box, right? But as it looks right now, I just don't really like it. I just don't really think it looks very good. It's not really the shape of it. It's more of the color palette and where they put those colors. But, you know, it's a controller. I could give it that. Not really a big fan. I'm definitely more of a fan of the Xbox's controller. I just have always liked the button layout more. And you know, and a lot of that's probably just because I've played more Xbox, you know, than I have PlayStation.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm going to say this. I am honestly and truly looking forward to getting this controller into my hands. Obviously, I'm buying both consoles, so I'm going to have to get used to it. I've said this. I actually put a tweet out. I like see. I'm the opposite. I actually think it looks really cool. I like the aesthetics. I think it's very eye catching. Some people were saying that it's sharp looking. I would agree there too. I will say this though. There are two things that I dislike about. Well, I mean, the controller in general is I don't like I don't like the analog stick placement. I'm very used to playing with the analog sticks the way they're set up on on both the Xbox and the Nintendo Switch with their controller. I don't say I have a hard time with it, because I just don't like the stick placement. But I am going to bring up a particular issue, so to speak, that might be a problem. And Joe, I'm going to bring you in on this, sure. Mr. Badbit. We talked about this in the pregame, and where the share button or the create button is, I think is a little close.
Yeah.
Right next to where the triangle and square button is. And listen, I have big hands. I have big thumbs. And I don't necessarily know that if I'm going to be, you know, hitting that button accidentally, but I think that there's a significant potential for people to actually have a problem with that particular button placement. First of all, great video yesterday.
Oh, thank you, man.
On when you were talking about the controller. And again, I don't have it added to the show notes, but I'm gonna add it in there because I think people need to get their eyes on it. What are your thoughts on the controller? What are your thoughts on the cheeky marketing of PlayStation and timing? But more importantly, do you think that button placement might be an issue? I know it's a loaded question.
Oh, no. I'll answer it. I'll tackle it one by one. First and foremost, I think I was shocked because I was, we were looking at a more reserved Sony, probably still are as well, because they said very, 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 forward out there that we're not going to see the console yet, at least for a few months. So I'm still thinking June we're going to see it. But I liked it. I really like that design of that console. It seems like what Mark Cerny was trying to say with the PlayStation 5 was, the PlayStation 4 was an evolution of the PlayStation brand. He wants the PlayStation 5 to be a revolution of the brand. And this, though the controller looks a lot different from the DualShocks in the past, it still remains the same in form factor. Now, I totally understand why people don't like it. I love this controller look. I love the memes even more. Even the dog outside agrees with me there that, the controller looks beautiful. I honestly God think it. I love the memes even more though. They're just straight up fire. they're some of the best memes I've seen. If I could get a good dank meme, I need it in my life.
You'll take it, right?
Yeah, I'll take what I can get. The feature that has me the most excited is the haptic feedback. Just because Sony was all about, listen, consoles, you usually get, a prettier looking thing, you get a better sounding thing. Now we want to put the feeling yet again, because we think the evolution with Rumble kind of stopped there. So adding a more in-depth haptic feedback, because we see haptic feedback in other controllers like the Series 2, but having a more in-depth feel, that's awesome. I'm totally on board with that. The thing that also excites me is actually the mic. I'm all about bringing more people into gaming and having more access to things that we usually take for granted. Now, a lot of people are like, "Whoa, the mic is going to be annoying." Well, there's literally a button to mute it right above it, so don't worry about it. Secondly, when it comes to the mic, it brings more people into the fold. A lot of people can't afford headphones, especially after paying for it.
It's an expensive accessory. I mean, you can go cheap and get a $20 pair of headphones, but you're going to get what you pay for.
Exactly. So to just bring more people into the fold that way and having an easier time to communicate with your team, or a more open way to communicate with your team is fantastic. The one thing that I do want to strike out that I think is people are like, it's going to listen to me. Well, like, guys,
what doesn't?
You have
well, I mean, and I'm not worried about like the microphone hearing me or something. I'm worried about me having to endure through terrible audio of like the people on my team, and then I have to go through and mute all of them, and that's just annoying.
I mean, we already do that in the first place, right? Like every time I'm in a Call of Duty chat,
yeah, but I just don't want to do it more.
I do it all the time. Like, again, I'm doing every time I'm in a chat. Like, I'm hearing Lil Wayne in the back and like something weird, people yelling, dogs barking, and I just press Y. I just press Y. Now, with that said, I totally understand where people are saying this looks like an Xbox console, because when you look at the grips themselves, you kind of see how it gets narrow on the bottom like an Xbox controller would. And that is what one of the things that PlayStation said is the controller was too fat. And so they want more hand types, because now Mark.
Yes, well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you're touching on that point. That's excellent.
Now he wants your hands. He wants people to grip that controller better. So I understand why people get a little weird. When you look at it through the side angle, it definitely looks like a DualShock controller. And the more I look at it, the more it screams DualShock. With that said, with that all out of the way, what controller is better? Well, I've held an Xbox One controller. My favorite controller right now, again, PlayStation Sony pony right here. The best controller out on the market is the Elite Series 2.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yes.
Like, Dustin Lambert said it in the chat. They use these things to control drones, to control submarines. Like, the Xbox controller is where it's at. So if one company concedes going, yeah, we're going to kind of take what you're working with, that's fine. Like, we even see it with Nintendo. Like, we understand who has the better ergonomics. So take the ergonomics. I don't care. Microsoft stole an entire OS from Apple and called it their own and made billions off of it. Companies steal. It doesn't. I don't care. It doesn't affect me. So I'm all.
Well, don't they say copying is the best form of flattery? Yes.
But like, the one concern that you do have too at the end of the day is a fair one, because we're not gonna see how that's going to affect you until you get it in your hands. And so for that, like, yeah, like looking at it, yeah, it does look a little bit too close, but we're gonna have to see. We're really going to have to see. But there's a lot to it that controller is doing that does excite me. Again, haptic feedback, mic, dope, and the create button. What are we creating, gang?
It's look, I'm gonna say this. There's a couple of things currently with the DualShock 4. While playing Resident Evil, they use the speaker in that. Sometimes it's a little shocking to some people that don't know that something's going to come out of that speaker. But as you were playing as Jill Valentine and you were talking to Carlos, it would come through as if you were talking on the walkie-talkie, which I thought was actually pretty cool. The microphone thing, what I'm hoping is that it's not an elaborate having to shut everybody off. I'm hoping that it's just a one press mute, because I think that it's probably going to be there. There's probably going to be a way to mute everyone. I just hope that it's not going to be something that is going to be very difficult to do. Like, for instance, if you were playing with a buddy and you wanted to hear them, you want to be able to hear them. But if you are having to go on multiplayer and you don't want to hear especially if you're playing something like Call of Duty, like Warzone, you're going to get a tremendous amount of kids screaming in there. That happens all the time. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. What I'm hoping is that the button that's on the bottom of it, that is going to be just that. You press that once and it's muted. I hope that you don't have to hit the guide button or the PlayStation button, go into the settings, mute the controller, come back out, because it pulls you out of your play time to do that. And then if you want to talk to your buddy and you don't have a microphone, you have to go hit the button again, go into the settings.
Yeah, and it's also a way. So like a lot of people are like, yeah, the speaker and the mic probably gonna sound like, but I don't know yet, but
no, we don't know. We have to see it in play. We have to be fair. Yes.
Also, how mics work with noise cancellation and where the emitter's at. Also take into account that. Remember, Alexa is able to understand when you're saying Alex instead.
Yes.
So it's not. Yes. It's not the worst thing in the world. Also, PlayStation Assist. I want to see who. I think that's coming. It just depends on whose hand they're shaking, because maybe they are doing a partnership with Bing instead of Google, because now they're competition. So again, I'm excited about the tech. I want to get this thing in my hands. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. At the end of the day, if this thing is comfortable, I don't give a crap what it looks like. But yeah, like the Xbox controller is the best, hands down, bar none. It's better.
You know what we've not referenced thus far?
Tell me.
Two key elements that have made their way into PlayStation's controller design this gen, and that is VR capability with the light bar, and the back button attachment that they released for the PS4. To my knowledge, there's nothing in DualSense that we know about that incorporates those two technologies, and I'm sure they will. Just to be very clear, I'm sure they will. But based on what we know right now, those are two questions that come of it, because I agree with both Zemi and Bit on a number of these points. There's a lot to take away, and we truly won't know till we get our hands on it. But I really am curious as to those of you who picked up the back button attachment to your PS4 DualShocks. How are they going to make how is that going to make its way into the DualSense?
That's a good question.
And how are they going to utilize PSVR 2.0? Because there certainly is the next iteration of it. Shu even talked about it being the first of its kind. So I really want to see what they do with that for the DualSense, because that's going to make a big difference in how Microsoft responds or chooses not to respond going forward, because they've only iterated. They haven't revolutionized now at this point because they didn't need to.
I think that's a good question. Like with the PlayStation Assistant, and I see it in the chat. Let's talk about it. The shady patent that Sony did put out. It's kind of like the shady patent that we saw Activision put out, where they're putting you into games with AI instead of people, and then making you feel good, and then dropping you into a game, and then you actually do. But that patent's also being played around with Epic, with Fortnite. So don't worry about it. But that is something to get concerned about. You know, I still just don't worry about it. Keep it in the back of your mind when this thing comes out. And let's see it. Let's put their feet to the fire if that patent is true. To me, I don't think it is. Companies put out patents all the time because, again, it could happen. They're a company and they're also stupid. You know, why put a paywall between an assist feature when I could just turn to my phone and Google it there? I don't know. But that's a good thing to point out, everyone. I'm working through it in my mind as well. But I think that's another point, Luke, that you made really well, is how the light bar is going to work. So I don't think the PSVR is 100% backwards compatible or forwards compatible in the way as of saying, hey, my DualShock 5 or Sense is going to work here. That's why the DualShock 4 is forwards compatible with
and yes, and I absolutely agree. That's a great point. Real quick, let me just catch up on some of these super chats because Zemi's been putting them into the chat. Thanks for, because I actually missed quite a few. The Living Flame drops a $2 super chat and says this: new by Fisher Price, the DualSense, your gaming pal. And you know what? People have been getting really creative. I'm going to bring up the screen. This is what he's talking about.
It's good.
This is great. This is fun.
I love that. Like these memes are just fantastic. I don't want to make fun of it too much, but oh my god, those memes are great.
It is hilarious. Real quick, let me just get back to the super chats and I'll bring up another picture that got me excited. The private, here we go. Sin Vendetta drops an outstanding $5 super chat, an additional $5 super chat, says this: well, it's hard for Xbox to improve upon perfection. So, and I agree, they don't necessarily need to do much because their controller, quite frankly, is, in my opinion, perfect. The addition of the share button is something I've been asking for a long time. So I'm glad that they're incorporating that. Kay Asante drops a $10 super chat, and an additional $10 super chat, and says this: there's a patent out there saying that the mic will enable talking to a voice assistant to help when gaming. Even info about enabling microtransactions, direct purchases. So you can probably say, "Hey, buy Spider-Man," and it buys it. Hopefully, there's not mistakes where you already own something and you're like, "Yeah, buy." You're talking to your brother, "Hey, yeah, go buy Spider-Man," and your console buys it for you, and you're like, "Wait a second, I
Microsoft did this too, though. They did this too with Kinect. Remember, you could buy pizza with Kinect.
Well,
that was a thing.
You could buy pizza with Kinect.
You could buy
you could. If I'm not mistaken, you can still do this on Xbox if you enable Cortana, and you can speak to her through your microphone, through your actual headset. You can still do that on Xbox.
I have my I don't want to say the name attached to it because then they're going to start speaking live on the air. But I have a voice.
What's their name? What's their name?
I can't say it.
I mean, just say a name. Like, what's the name, man?
It would be Alexa. Look, see, she just went off. See what you made me do?
Alexa,
so anyway, real quick, let me just continue with this. Sir X-Man drops a $5 super chat and says this: this is my problem with Sony and the PlayStation 5. Well, will you be able to use your PS4 controller on the PS5 like Microsoft? Yes, you can. It is. They're going to allow you to bring a significant amount of devices forward. So if you are a fan, let's say, of the particular the DS4, which I think a lot of people are, they might be able to bring that forward, and that's been confirmed. Rain G4 drops a $2 super chat and says, will Sony have a version of Design Labs? Now, I want to come back around to this question because Joe and I were talking about this, and I think it would behoove them to do that because, you know, before I get into the weeds of it, let me just Eagles fan drops an additional and very generous $2 super chat and says this: most important feature is reducing latency, and Xbox has been upfront with that, and that's pretty good. But I want to bring up another picture, which I thought was dope. Please. Now, if they came out with a controller like this, I am all
Luke has thoughts about this controller.
Yes, we did. Now, what I want to put out there, and I want people to be very careful.
Okay.
On social media yesterday, I saw some incredible designed controllers. I saw one for Uncharted. I saw one for God of War. I saw one for Horizon Zero Dawn. Guess what, folks? Please, Sony, don't do this because you're going to make me poor because I'm going to want them all. But why I'm saying for people to be careful is because social media does not forget anything. And there were several people, and I'm not going to name names because, you know, I don't do stuff like that. I don't get in the middle of this nonsense. I am going to say be careful where you throw stones if you live in a glass house, because there were several people on social media yesterday that always show up in my timeline to throw shit, pardon my French, at anything Xbox. And these same folks, and I use the term loosely, were the same ones that were always jumping on or piling on the rabbit, as I like to say, when it came to Microsoft talking about all the different controllers they had. Now, all of a sudden, we're talking about controllers being, oh, look at all these accurate controllers. So just be careful, because if you're one of these people that had all these negativity to say about Microsoft's controllers, people will screen cap your shit and bring it back to you, even if it's years ago. So be careful. Just be careful. Don't make a fool out of yourself. Also, it's okay to get excited, but just remember where you brought us into this.
Can I jump in? I love that controller. I think that controller looks amazing. Now, the previous one, no, not so much, but that actually looks really Dude, sick. This is, and it kind of looks like the controller's wearing tights.
Okay, Luke, please say what you say, because I have it in my head now every time I look at this controller, because
does it not? Okay, all right. So
this looks like that controller,
and it like made like the controller look like a bra, like the two little straps on like the side with like the blue. Yeah, I mean you can't not see it once you've seen it. But like the two blue things are like the strap of the bra, and then where the analog are, you can just use your imagination for that. But yeah. So there's that. Enjoy, I guess.
What do you think about that Spider-Man controller, real quick?
I've seen some incredible controllers, no doubt. Some incredible cool mock-ups, but that Spider-Man controller looks like that controller your grandma bought you for that knockoff video game because your parents wouldn't let you have a play. That thing looks terrible. But I love the Spider-Man. Like, I love PS4 Spider-Man.
It looks like a Mario thing more than anything. Like, it looks like he's wearing overalls. I think Shady said it in the chat. I agree with there. My favorite one.
It kind of does look like overalls. Now that I'm seeing it, it looks like overalls. God damn it!
Yeah, it really does. But it just looks like tights, like how it's so tightly wrapped around the plastic of the controller. Like, it really looks like this controller is wearing tights, swinging from building to building.
Yeah. But again, I like these are awesome ideas, and it's about gosh dang time. I know in my community we've been screaming it from the rooftops. The thing that we're so jealous that Microsoft has, and now we're seeing Nintendo do it, I believe, in Japan. Give us a design labs. Let us make some crazy colors with these controllers. Come on, Sony, you're a hardware company. You can do this. You have the infrastructure to make this possible. Let me make a trophy room inspired controller. Gosh dang it. That's all I want. And just give me it. Just give me what I want.
I get that reference.
Well, I mean, look, let me just say this. I think having controllers to go with a particular game is something that we saw that was very prevalent on the Xbox 360. I mean, remember they had a Fable controller back in the 360, which was dope. They had numerous Halo controllers. We as gamers love to have corresponding consoles and controllers to go with said whatever game, which is why, like I said, when I had made mention of it in passing to my wife that, oh man, I can't wait to play God of War, and that custom console looks great. At that particular time, my PlayStation 4 Pro sounded like a jet engine. And it was so loud she would actually hear it in the other room. It was crazy. And she surprised me with it. And I got to tell you, I love the controller. I know a lot of people didn't really dig the aesthetics, but I think I love the console. And like, for instance, I should be getting actually a day earlier, my Gears 5 custom console should be delivered today. I can finally actually go back to playing Xbox games, because outside of using apps, my Xbox keeps taking a shit. So the overheating issue, I have to send it in to get fixed. I know people talking about, it's just thermal paste, fix it yourself. Boom. You know what? No, I just don't do that. No. I'm gonna send it in and let let the professionals jump on that. But let me just make sure I got all the super chats, and we'll bring it back to Luke. Just if you want to close this out. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I did get all the super chats. So real quick, Luke, on closing with the controller. Obviously, both controllers are going to be bringing something. Like, for instance, I bring up the Xbox Series X controller because if you look at the triggers, if you look at the left button and the triggers, they have the raised bumps on there for grip, which I think it's fantastic. Some of they tried this out on some of the newer controllers, and I think it's a tremendous feature to add that into it. Like I have multiple elites. I usually play it on the elites, but I have a couple of the controls as well. What are your opinions on the raised bumps on the back of the new controller for the Xbox Series X?
I totally dig it. I love them. On the more recent kind of special edition controllers for the Xbox One, you see a lot of these like small quality of life features, and they really do make a big difference. I have a cheap, like very cheap Xbox One controller, then I have the Gears one, then the Elite, and like I can feel a subtle difference in the little quality of life things. And those bumps make a big difference on the Xbox One. So I would imagine that on the Series X controller, that's going to make a really nice, just standard quality of life difference for that controller. I dig it. I like it. I think they make a big difference, particularly as I get older and my reactions fade. I need every advantage I can get, boom. I need every little one. And so I'm all for that right there.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And it may be a subtle addition to what many people in the chat, and I wholeheartedly agree about being perfected, if you will. I currently think that the size of the controller, and now if you've heard them talk about it, the controller for the Series X is slightly smaller. Yep. And you can tell again what they're doing, and it's weird because Joe, you had said that the DualShock is actually smaller. Now I'm going to be honest with you, when they put them side by side, I actually thought that this controller was slightly bigger than the DualShock, but you said no. And if that in fact is the case and it's smaller, I think both companies realize that that gaming isn't just an adult thing anymore, and that having a controller that is form-fitting for all hand types, including smaller gamers, younger gamers, is obviously a good business practice, because you want more people to use your controller. And I think the more people that can find comfort in said controller on the next generation consoles, the more potential you're going to get people playing games. Luke, anything you want to close out on this particular topic?
No, genuinely, I think we've got a lot to find out about both controllers for sure. It looks to me like both companies are doing a good job at improving what they have and not keeping it status quo. They've taken what they've done well. They're looking to make it better. I would have liked to see some offset sticks. I'm curious if PlayStation will do an Elite equivalent down the line. But in large part, I like that this is an aggressive Sony with something new. I do like that Mark Cerny is having a revolution, not an evolution, because it forces everybody to play ball. And I'm all the more anxious to see what we've got, come holiday season.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be super interesting, and I honestly cannot wait. So before we move on to the next topic, I'm just going to catch up on two super chats. They're both from Aaron JF94. He says this, $2 for his first $2 super chat says this: DualSense PlayStation condoms. Well, I didn't see condoms, but I guess. And then he says the second one as a $2 super chat saying spider bra. Now the bra thing I actually saw, thanks to Zemi ruining my thought and enjoyment of this by saying, look, you can see the straps. And that's all I can see. I don't understand what has happened.
I also added in a like a better picture to really showcase what I'm talking about, like in the Twitter DM. If you wanted to add that to the stream, so everyone can just really enjoy.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let me. I'll definitely come back around to that. But thank you for that. I super appreciate it. But I want to move on to the to a particular, with the reveal of what both consoles can do, there has been a war brewing on both social media and, of course, in the YouTube community, of course, the YouTube content creation community. And, obviously it has been determined by multiple sources that the PlayStation 5 is going to be less powerful, not making it a worse console in any way, because we know what they were able to do, at least their first party games, with only 1.8 teraflops. So with 9.2 or 10.3, whatever you want to say, they're going to be able to do wondrous things. But I pulled a story from notebookcheck.com, and this is thanks to Dealer Gaming. He did a video 2 days ago that I thought was amazing. and he had sent the link. He put the link in the description, which I'm glad, because I actually didn't even use it. I actually found, when he started talking about it, I pulled up notebookcheck.com and I found the story. And I thought it was interesting because it really does explain in layman's terms what is going on. And it talks about the Navi benchmarks proving that the Xbox Series X is in fact more powerful. But again, there is an aspect to the building these systems that I know about, but I am not fluent in. So I'm going to read directly from the article. I just want to put it out there as a caveat. I am reading directly from the notebookcheck.com article. And it says this: Sony's claim that high clock speeds offset its meager shader allocations on the PlayStation 5 doesn't hold water when the Navi overclocking results are factored in. Due to the non-linear performance/clock scaling, the likely performance deficit between the two consoles is in the 25 to 30% range, which may have major impact on 4K performance. As fast as the SSD is for the PlayStation 5, I don't believe that it will make the difference for a less powerful CPU and GPU. The PlayStation community has been very vocal about the lesser powerful PS5 and have now even taken on all forms of social media to pretty much stake their claim that PlayStation 5's overclocked speeds at 10.3 teraflops make it a better next generation console. No, those are my words. Now I'm going to go right back to the article, and this is where it gets interesting. Panel and chat. It says this. This is misleading for two key reasons. For starters, the PlayStation 5 only delivers 10 teraflops of notional compute power when it's running at its maximum boot frequency. Sony themselves have asserted that the clock speeds will be pulled back depending on the power draw, meaning that there will be scenarios where the PlayStation 5 delivers less. The Xbox Series X, on the other hand, in contrast, runs at a rock-solid 1800 megahertz, subject neither to thermal nor power draw. And here's the second reason that they bring up. The second reason has to do with what we already know about the Navi clock speed scaling. RDNA parts do not scale well at higher clock speeds. Overclocking tests on the RX 5700 XT close for the PlayStation 5's GPU indicate that a massive 18% overclocked from stock up to 2.1 gigahertz resulted in just a 5 to 7% improvement in frame rates. This is the exact opposite of Sony's claim, which implies better than linear performance when scaling the clock speeds. RDNA 2 is an iterative update to the first generation RDNA architecture found on Navi 10 parts. This makes it very likely that the PS5 will also behave similarly. Upping the clocks to 2.2 gigahertz won't magically offset the substantial difference in hardware allocation between the Series X and PlayStation 5's GPUs. Now, the author finishes the article by saying, this leads to the sobering conclusion that in real-world workloads, the PS5 might be 30% or more slower than the Xbox Series X. We don't expect the world's fastest SSD or individual raindrop audio rendering to offset that. Wow. Now, here's the thing. Again, I just want to put this out there. If you want tech to be broken down in a way that is understandable in layman's terms, you tune into Dealer Gaming, you tune into Colt Eastwood. These guys understand the back end. You turn into an Austin Evans or even like a Brad Sams. These guys, they know tech. I'm reading directly from the article, and that's what we're going to break down. So I'm going to start off with Luke. Luke, first of all, again, we're not going to get into the weeds of my D is bigger than yours. We're not doing that because that's been done to death. What we're talking about is exactly what was put in this article to kind of just make it understood that regardless of how fast someone's SSD is, which apparently is 8 seconds better, PlayStation 5's SSD is up to 8 seconds faster than what's going on in the Series X. That's great. No one takes anything away from that. But this article really does break down in layman terms why the Series X is better. What are your thoughts on this article from the notebookcheck.com?
Well, if it's accurate, and I would assume it is, because I too am like you in that I don't know the full breadth of the tech. If it's accurate, I think it actually bodes poorly for the Xbox Series X, because we've seen third parties throughout multiple generations of consoles key to the lowest common denominator, so it's easier to port. And even right now, Xbox One X is the most powerful console out on the market right now. And the visuals are stunning in a number of games. But the PS4 Pro is comparable visually in a number of those games. Not all third parties take advantage of it. So the onus is going to be on Microsoft to incentivize third parties to make their games consistently perform with the Series X specs and to push their 15 plus studios to take advantage of that power. They're going to need showcase games to take advantage of this. There is no doubt the Series X is more powerful at this point. We can tell that Sony is going about achieving their goals by way of a different path. Bravo. I love that. I think it's great. It bodes well for us. But those specs are concerning to me, because it means that third parties might just try to key to the lowest common denominator. So I worry about that. I am excited by the power that I'm going to be getting, because that's what I want as a gamer. I want to see the best visuals, the most pretty, have the fastest and best experience. Microsoft's done a lot with the latency concerns to make a better user experience overall. I want third parties to take advantage of that, and I want Microsoft to incentivize it, because spec-wise, I don't want them to take the easy way out, as they sometimes do. And that's Microsoft's job.
Right. Well, that's where the lazy developer comment comes into play. And we've heard that term. It's a bit of an insulting term. I've actually heard developers say, we feel terribly insulted when we hear gamers say lazy developers. But I have to then bring this back around to what you were saying a few seconds ago, is that the development community. Listen, I don't know shit about making games. And you know what? I actually applied to go to school to learn to make games right in the middle of my police career, because I thought that maybe that's where I wanted to go. And I actually took a step back and I said, you know what? I don't want to know what goes into making the magic, because then it's going to ruin it for me. So I pulled my application from the school that I was going to go to, and I decided, you know what? I'm just going to stand on the outside behind the velvet rope line and just look and wonder. And but I will say this, and I don't think any major developers listens to this small show, but I will say this: be better in the next generation, and don't fall into that trope of the lazy developer.
I also don't think it has to do so much with the developers necessarily as it probably also has to do with the publishers. I mean, you have to remember, they have to sell these games, and they have to create these games in a timely manner, right? Like they're stuck on deadlines. So I think that has to, has a lot to do with it as well, not just the developers, but the publishers as well, wanting to get these games out and wanting to bring these games to as many platforms as they can.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sure. But look, continue your point, sir.
Well, I think I feel like I've pretty much said all I could really say there at this point. And I do want to say that I don't argue that it's a laziness. I just think that there's a business cycle there, and keying to the lowest common denominator does make good business sense if you're trying to get something out there to sell it and sell it well. We as gamers, we have a responsibility in that, and Microsoft needs to make sure that they are incentivizing developers, publishers, and anybody else involved to showcase their best efforts on Series X. And again, I'm glad that's not my job, because that'd be tough.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that responsibility either. Real quick, Pixelbit G drops an additional $2 super chat and says this: Microsoft gambled to make Xbox Series X the standard with DX Ultimate. Yeah, I think the tools that are being made available for developers are to alleviate exactly what Luke was talking about. I think DX12 has become a standard within game design, and I think that this new DX Ultimate for the Series X is going to allow developers to easily and handily make the Xbox Series X version the version to get. And I think that they understand that and we've heard, behind the scenes, one has been a little bit more difficult to develop for than the other. And I think that with what Microsoft is doing with this is I wasn't in the boardrooms. Heck, I don't know. I'm only going to go based on what I've read on numerous posts and articles that I read. And Sammy, I want to get your point on this once I'm done. Microsoft went to the development community in building this. When they went to build the Xbox Series X, they had an idea of what they wanted to do, but to bring the development community into it is something that they pride themselves in doing. And they went to them. They went to all these development and publishing houses and said, okay, we're creating the next generation console. What would make it better for you to maximize your developing skills onto this console? And they used the feedback that they got from the development community to build this box. And I think that is going to completely eliminate what Luke says that was an issue on many of the Xbox One X games, where some PlayStation 4 Pro games actually look and ran better. And that's where, of course, this trope with lazy development, lazy developer, lazy publisher.
And I hate that term, and I hate when people throw around like garbage devs and shit like that, because these people are working hard to provide you entertainment, and that's such an entitled way of thinking. And it's I'm gonna be a Reefer Franklin with you. It's a shitty way of thinking. That's not how gamers should look at things. Developers want to make the best game that they can, even if it's not the game that they want to make. Right. So I throw away any comment that states otherwise. I know quite a few developers that, purposely don't go on social media because of the just straight up toxic venom that gets thrown at them. At the same exact time, look, I try to go on the notebook.com. It's in German. I don't speak the Deutschland language.
You can have, I mean, listen, I use Chrome, so Google converts it. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, they convert. I don't read German either.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shit. For me, guys, again, I'm a PlayStation gamer, I guess. Whatever. Series X is more powerful. Bam. I don't know how. Again, I don't know how much. People are telling me all sorts of percentages and numbers, right? Some people, a developer or two come to me and say that it's 17%. This one's saying it's 30% or more. Honestly, I don't see how much more than that, but from just the brief knowledge that I have, but cool, that's fine. It really does depend on, and I was actually talking to someone the other day about this. When we hear the rumors of overheating stuff, when we hear how the games are made or what's on paper right in front of us, a lot of people, production leads and devs alike, a lot of it comes down to when the thing is actually mass produced in the marketplace itself is when you're going to see and those are the risks you run. And it's crazy to think about that. So to me, okay, all this sounds cool. That's awesome. I'm on board. I'm not here arguing anything different. I just want to see it. I want to see what these games look like. I want to see.
I cannot wait for the fall, dude.
Yeah, I want to see how these developers are going to utilize the power of the Series X. I want to see how developers utilize the speed of the PlayStation 5. When I hear the articles of developers prefer the PlayStation 5 to the Code 4 than the Xbox, I'm like, I don't know.
They don't know yet.
They don't know. I don't care personally. I don't care what developer. I want to know how they're getting the best game that they know how to make onto that console. And there is truth to what Luke says is, yeah, developers are coding for the lowest common denominator, not because they want to per se, but because money talks and BS walks. So Ubisoft made Assassin's Creed Odyssey as beautiful as they can because Xbox gave them a bit of a deal on that game, right? They had a marketing deal with them to showcase the power of the Series X. Of course, there was money there to convince Ubisoft to pour
what he was saying, incentivize.
Exactly, incentivize. Right. And seeing what, and trust me, everybody who's angry at me, don't get angry in a second. Hearing DirectX Ultimate is going to help destroy some of those barriers so that games will hopefully look better on the Xbox Series X. Awesome, fantastic. I'm all for it. But right now I'm playing Animal Crossing. I'm loving it. I don't know how many teraflops is a Nintendo Switch Lite. I doubt it's 12. So to me, I just want to see the games. Remember what we were talking about and where we were all excited in the beginning of this podcast, right? Fable, Halo, that stuff gets my engines revved up. When I hear teraflops and like stuff that I don't understand, I just tune it out. I don't know what it is. So I'm not going to
listen. I'll be the first one to say that it goes. Yeah, I agree with you. Look, I'm going to say this. I'm a simpleton in the sense where I kind of want to open up the box. I want to find. I want to clean and dust the area where I'm going to put my new console, and I want to plug it in. And I want to work day one. Unfortunately, like I talked about my experience with PlayStation 4, the original, it got so hot that the wire melted. And I had to wait 2 weeks to get a new one. I was so mad that happened. And of course, now that my Xbox Series, it's not my Series X. I don't have one yet. Hopefully,
I know we're getting confused with the names already. Like,
but I will. It did take a dump. So I have to. New one's coming today. I've replaced. I'll go back to playing. A lot of Xbox games. In fact, I actually think I'm going to restart Kingdoms of Amalur, even though I think I got almost all the achievements, and play through it again because that game is so good. My God. But anyway, keeping on target here. Joe, is there anything else you'd like to add before we kind of move on?
No, I want to see what happens when these games actually come out, when it comes to real world performance, when it comes to the real world aspects of developing and making these games. There are numerous things that, like the one big question in my head here, and I know some people in the chat raised it, which is, developers say that it's easier to code for the PS5, but with that SSD, how does it get in the way, and how does it make, again, coding these games different? That's the thing that I'm interested to see how that pays off, because at the moment, what it seems like to me is that they're both using x86 architecture. They're both very similar boxes. They're just doing things differently from each other. So for me, I want to see the real world applications actually get made here. To me, if a box is more powerful, is that a selling point? Not necessarily to me. I'm getting both anyway, so I don't think it really matters. I just want to see how the games are running on both these consoles. That's the thing that I'm most interested about.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Now, listen, I trying to do the chat, trying to keep the timestamps going, and circumvent the pictures. I'm not sure who I missed. So, Zemi, did I get your opinion on this? Okay, so thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Sorry, Zemi. We get excited.
No, that's all right.
Let's get you in on this. Obviously, what I like about the article, besides being able to understand a lot of what's going on, is that it was written for the layman terms for the public like myself, who just want to sit down, plug and play, and go. And it clearly breaks down. I mean, there were a lot of people in the understanding community for tech that understands how these consoles are built that had a lot to say about the way Mark Cerny broke it down. They thought there were holes in what he was saying. And this particular article kind of really just brings all of that back around and explains that, yeah, there is up to a 30%, possibly more gap in regards to performance that, Cerny's not going to go up there and say that the console is less powerful. I mean, he did even say right from the beginning, which I knew that this is where we're going to have a bit of an issue, is that, the teraflops number doesn't actually matter. It's what you do with it. And to be honest, what he's saying is true, but by starting out your press conference or your reveal conference, if you will, with the numbers, it kind of, it pushed me back on my heels, because he's already saying that it's not more powerful. I knew it. I absolutely knew it.
Well, he's already making excuses.
Well, yes. That's the thing. If I could take that narrative for just a second here, because I heard a lot of Xbox people going, I doubt PlayStation's going to give any specs because it's less powerful. And then when Mark Cerny put out
he did kind of quiet that crowd.
And then at the same exact time, then he gets shit for doing that. And then also Digital Foundry also going and saying, yeah, no, teraflops isn't the end all be all.
It's not. It is certainly not.
Again, there are narratives that we're building for ourselves to make ourselves feel better, and then there's the realistic thing. And unfortunately for me, I don't know what the realistic thing is because I'm not a tech aficionado. So to me, I'm just living in this fantasy world where I'm just waiting for the games to play. I know how crazy that may sound. I just want to see Halo. I want to see what
I want to see the next Spider-Man. I want to see the next God of War. I want to see
that
Fable.
gets me excited. I'm excited again.
Yes.
You know, when we get to numbers, I'm reminded of algebra and how bad I am.
Can we talk about Fable?
Yeah.
So, Sammy, take it away. What are your thoughts on this particular article?
I mean, I don't think really anyone knows exactly the amount, like the difference in power yet, right? I mean, this, these journalists, like they're writing about it. Obviously, they're very, very knowledgeable in what they're talking about because half what they're talking about, I don't even know. Like, I'd need to go get like 15
a dictionary.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously, very intelligent and they're very good in their field, but they don't actually, I wouldn't imagine, have these consoles, right? They're not a developer, they're just a publication, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't think that they really 100% know. They're just really kind of making educated guesses. And I mean, could 30%, less powerful be correct? Absolutely, sure, why not, right? And I'm not a huge tech person. I know how to build a PC, but all this other stuff, I don't know. But one thing that did kind of catch me off guard was the second part of that article. He was talking about how the 5700 XT was not very good at overclocking and getting performance out of it while being overclocked. And he related that to PlayStation's GPU and their console. But I think one of the big differences between, relating both of those is the 5700 XT is available right now. It's current market technology, right? It's what we can buy right now if we want to build a PC. But what is actually going into the PlayStation 5, if I'm not mistaken, is RDNA 2, which is
you can't buy right now.
Completely different. So how, the current technology works and how RDNA 2 works are two very, very different things. So I don't really think him using that as an example really is that strong of an example, but I might be completely wrong.
And my question is to you as well, is this is a different beast entirely. Like, graphics card is one thing. What they're playing with, they I know it's a CPU GPU combined. Is it what do they call it? An APU at that point, right? I don't know.
An APU, yes,
an APU. So like is it like comparing apples to oranges? And I'm just asking. I'm not like whatever because I'm dumb and I failed math God knows how many times.
Wait, what are you asking?
Is it then comparing, since this is an APU, this is a different type of chip compared to this graphics card? Is it then like comparing apples to oranges type of deal?
Well, like the reason why I think it is, like comparing apples to oranges is because, you're taking what is currently the current technology, right? A chip that's not RDNA 2, and then you're comparing it to what is an RDNA 2 chip, right? So it's just like you know what I mean? It just doesn't really, to me, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
So they're playing with what you're saying is they're playing with theory. They're theory crafting more than like hard evidence.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least that part. I mean, obviously, the first part where they're talking about how the PlayStation can get up to 10 point something teraflops, 10. But that's 3. That's while it's being maxed out, and it's usually going to be around 9.2 or 9 point something. Obviously, that's not. I mean, that's what we know to be true. But the whole idea of them, relating the 5700 XT graphics card to the RDNA 2 chip that's going to be in the PlayStation, I just don't think that that's a very fair comparison to try to make your point as being it's going to be less powerful, because I just don't think that they know exactly enough as far as that is right now, if that makes any sense.
No, I thank you for that. That gives me a lot more clarity, so thank you.
Yeah. But once again, I might just be completely wrong. I usually am anyway.
Well, no, I mean, listen, you know what?
I have my moments, but
well, your point sounds logical, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. Like I said, I just want people to understand that, I understand that there is a console brand loyalty, But just be real careful about putting yourself out there and beating on this drum about how an 8-second difference in an SSD is going to make that much of a difference. I just think that we've seen too much of that.
It may to the consumer, right? And that's really what we're looking at. Obviously, the Xbox console is more powerful. You're not taking that away. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and that's going to be different. It is a fact. The Xbox console is more powerful, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't enjoy PlayStation if you enjoy PlayStation.
Absolutely, 100%.
The PlayStation, it's not like the PlayStation is going to be 8-bit. Graphics, and the Xbox is going to be 4K, ultra amazing, super realistic.
I heard you saying we should fight in the streets. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I think we should all get headbands, get sticks, and run in the street and start beating on each other.
But I think the thing to remember here, though, too, is just as an individual consumer, you have to just look at both products. If you like VR, PlayStation's your man. If you want even faster loading speeds, PlayStation's your boy, right? If you want better looking graphics, then Xbox is probably where you're going to want to go. And I mean, there's just so many different variables that go into different.
Can I add a third? Can I add a third caveat to this?
Sure, go ahead.
If you are a gamer, you're going to want both.
Absolutely. If you can afford both, get both. I mean, if you like Last of Us more, buy a PlayStation. You like Halo more, buy an Xbox. Why does it matter, right?
Yeah,
why does it matter which one is more powerful? I played on Xbox pretty much all throughout this generation, and the entire time I've had the least powerful console. That didn't bother me in the least bit because I was playing who I wanted to play with. I was playing the games I wanted to play, and I was using a controller that I really, really enjoyed. So, it doesn't really matter which one's more powerful at the end of the day. It just matters, which one you can afford or which one you want.
Yeah. No, that's
like
true.
That, man. That's a perfect way. That's exactly how I see it. That's awesome.
You know what? Before we move on to the next topic, and this one we're going to be talking about what happened on Inside Xbox because there's a lot to get to. I have to thank Bruno Carvalho drops a $5 super chat and says this: Apple devices usually don't have the best specs on the market, but with their brand and service, they were able to keep high sales. Yeah, I mean, listen,
that is true. Yeah.
That's very true. Sir X-Men, a big friend of the show, drops an additional outrageous $5 super chat and says this: I'm getting the Series X. I'm just mad about the HDMI pass-through. Will not be able to see my friends when they send me an invite or message now. I don't know what exactly that's about. I mean, if you're playing, I see what you're saying. I see that if you're watching a movie, you won't get a message. I don't listen. I'm going to be honest with you. I dislike that terribly. When I'm watching a film with Mrs. Boomstick and those things come up on the screen, I know you can shut them off, and I have, but I prefer not to have it. I don't know if that's what he's referring to. But what I want to do is I want to bring up Inside Xbox because obviously this is the first one of the year, I believe, and people were expecting some big things, and there were some nuggets of information in here, and checking out online. I mean, I was very vocal about it. I did not like it as much as some of the other ones, but let's break down exactly what they talked about. We're going to start with this. They had Jason Ronald, who is the director of product management on the Xbox Series X, come up, and he discussed everything from graphics to technology, like DirectX ray tracing and VRS, which of course is variable rate shading, to audio processing, quick resume, and storage options. Ronald also highlighted the Xbox Velocity architecture, including what this entails and what will enable what will be enabled for games, what would get good use of it. Obsidian Entertainment announced, obviously they brought Grounded, and they showed I guess it was a big take on Grounded that may not be for me personally. And I'll come right out and say that Grounded is just not for me. Not because it's cartoony, not because it's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, not because only 15 people are developing it at Obsidian. No, it's a survival game that has a lot of Minecraft aspects to it, even though it's not. It looks, it has graphics. it's just not for me. But they did say that early access is coming on July 28th, 2020. And as part of the announcement, the team also revealed the new trailer focusing on the single player experience of Grounded. Now, that is something that I will be willing to try because I kind of really enjoy the single player aspect of gaming as a whole. But again, I'm not going to not try this game when it goes into Game Pass. I'm going to try it because it's a new game and I want to see what it's about. I may have a change of opinion. I may say, wow, this game was a lot of fun, even though it kind of looked, it doesn't have the realistic graphics that everyone is looking for. And Xbox Game Pass added a few new games. They were a little bit underwhelming, I got to be honest with you. And again, I really like to say that not every game is for every gamer. And one of these announcements might have been for you. And the 5 titles that were added were Vestia Chronicles and Journey to the Savage Planet. Now, those 2 are coming to the Xbox One console. The other 3 are coming to Xbox PC in the form of Overcooked 2, Football Manager 2020, and Stranger Things 3: The Game. Again, not the biggest announcement. I know, we just had a few new nuggets come to Xbox Game Pass on the console. So, I mean, I'm enjoying those. They announced that Forza Street comes to mobile on May 5th. I mean, there's not really much to talk about because it's, I'll put it this way. I'm going to play it to get the achievements. I'm not going to lie because I'm an achievement whore. But this is where it gets interesting. And before I move on to this interesting part, because we're going to be here for a bit, I want to just get the panel's opinion on the first half of what I just discussed, and I'll start with Zemi Games. Zemi, what I discussed on for Xbox, Inside Xbox, a lot of people felt they were underwhelmed by it. What are your opinion on the first half of this topic? Do you think that this what they showed to open the show was a bit of a disservice compared to the announcements they've had recently?
Yeah, but I mean, you can't expect to be interested in every single thing that
that's
Xbox
a great point.
Comes out. Yeah. Like, I mean, we kind of talk. Well, for instance, a great example of this is Bleeding Edge, right? I am really not a fan of that game. I'm not saying it's a terrible game. It's just not really my game. It's not a game for me, and that's okay. Everything that Xbox talks about, we're not all going to be interested in, and that's perfect. That's why we're human, right? At the end of the day. And Xbox has been dropping so much information. And this just seemed to be a way for them to, have an inside Xbox, which is what they typically like to do, but then also give us a lot of the information that they've kind of been holding back on and haven't had probably really that good of a place to put it. But for me, I actually did enjoy the Inside Xbox. I thought it was a good show. I think what gets a lot of people is, we've had all of these huge announcements and then we hear Inside Xbox. We know that there's not going to be an E3. So we think that there's just going to be a monster, huge, announcement at, Inside Xbox. And then it just doesn't happen. So everyone's a little bit, I guess, disappointed. But, it is what it is. They can't give us, they can't give everyone a huge information drop that that's going to make headlines every single time they come on the mic. I mean, that's just not realistic.
I agree. Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed the show though. I'm actually more interested in Grounded now than I was before. And
now, was that because of the single player aspect?
I think that the single player looks fun, but then I also think that the multiplayer looks fun, and just actually seeing more gameplay and them talking over it and kind of giving like an idea of the story. And, there's that, I don't even know if it's like an organization. It kind of looks like aliens or something, are kind of like in like the background of the story. It just looks really, really good. And at first I was not interested in that game at all, but the more that I saw it, the more I got excited for it. So I actually walked away more excited for Grounded than whenever I came into it. Cause I saw Grounded, I think in the title of the Inside Xbox, and I was like, oh God, here we go again. And then I saw it and I was like, man, I actually am legitimately going to download this and give it the old college effort day one. So, they didn't have a ton of information, nothing that's going to blow our socks off. But I think overall it was a good show. It kept us up to date on some of the smaller things that, aren't, the big halos or the fables or, and I think that's good. It wasn't, the most amazing show, but, I think it was good for what it was. And I can't wait for Grounded. I'm very excited for that now.
Nice. Well, listen, I'm going to play it. Like I said, I like the fact that they are making a single player campaign that is going to have a story built into what you're playing. I don't necessarily know if that's going to translate to the multiplayer, though it might. It might be, one hand grabbing the other and handshaking, where you're still going to get the same story experience if you play multiplayer. I would imagine that's good, that it's going to be a single player game with a multiplayer aspect that tells the story on either aspect, whether you like going in with your buddies or you like just playing, sitting on the couch and just playing the game yourself. That's fine. I'm not sure. I don't
like the spiders though.
I know you don't like. My brother won't play it because of the spiders either.
Yeah,
He's
I don't
no,
like the spiders. Those
out.
Things are creepy.
They are, and there are a lot of them. So yes, you are going to be fighting spiders. So maybe Zemi's out before he's even in.
No, I'm not out. It's still cartoony, so I think I could handle it. But we might have to make some judgment calls once we start the game.
Absolutely. Well, Insipid Ghost, let's get you in here because obviously you have a podcast that caters to Xbox.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to hear your opinions on the first half of the show for Inside Xbox. Was it something you were expecting? Were you either disappointed or excited? And what are you expecting from something like Grounded?
I did not think Inside Xbox went well. I thought it was. I was.
Now, is that because of the presentation or just what they showed?
And that's a great question, and it's really important that we clarify this. I think it was really cool that Microsoft put this together, given their conditions.
Right.
What I couldn't figure out is why they felt the need to do it based on the volume and the intensity of the announcements. I didn't think it warranted the show, particularly if we're hearing rumors of something to be coming next week, rather. Right. That is to be exciting. So I was surprised by that. I do think that it's worth mentioning. You talked about the titles coming to Game Pass. Adam Boyes, formerly of PlayStation, now with Iron Galaxy, once said of his E3 presentations that not every game can be for everyone, but if you can find one or two that you're excited about, then they've done their job well. And that was when PlayStation was at their height. Yes. And I look at the list of games that are coming to Game Pass right now, and I know from experience, Journey to the Savage Planet is wonderful. I also know that Football Manager is huge in many communities. Alvestia Chronicles is a wonderful example of them working to bring Xbox into the Asian markets and into Japan, which I know we'll talk about in the latter half.
It's kind of like a JRPG.
Correct. And so there is something for everybody in that presentation, and that is worth, I think, noting. Now, specific to Grounded, totally could not care less about that title. At first, rather, I should say. And now more and more that I see about it, I'm like, you know what? I dig single player. I dig this idea. I have no interest in the concept of being shrunken down and in the backyard. That doesn't intrigue me, but I do like the idea that there's a campaign there. Yes. And they're selling me on the game more than they did. Now, the onus, again, will be on them to prove why it's worth your time and giving more than, as Zemi said, the college try, because I don't think it's meant to appeal to us or us specifically, or the type of people that I would expect are in this chat. And I'm curious if anybody in chat is stoked for it. Let us know. I don't think it caters to us. And it goes back to the fundamental idea of why they're designing the Xbox Series X controller with 8-year-olds in mind. It is meant to present to that audience. Exactly. So there's something to that. There's something that we need to acknowledge and tip our hats to there. I just don't know that it's for me. And that was kind of my takeaway from the first half of that show. Was I was like, I don't know why this warrants an Inside Xbox. I'm glad to have something to do because I'm at home. Right. But I don't know why it warranted Inside Xbox. But first half, I was lukewarm at best, I suppose.
I can't wait till we get to the second half.
We are going to get to the second half. So let's get Mr. Badbit in here. Obviously, it's looking at the chat. There are some people like a good friend of the show, Philly Eagle, said he applauds Microsoft for doing this. And you know what? I have to agree with him. I think that it's easy for people to say that, like myself, who admittedly said it wasn't that great of a show, but at the same time, I think in current world conditions, Philly Eagle is correct in saying that having the show is better than having no show. And I think that the way they were able to pull it off, where these folks are actually, doing this from their homes, and I guess the production work came on the back end with their very talented people at Redmond. It is something to marvel at. But
Boom, They did set expectations well. We should tip our hat to that as well. They told us what they would be talking about.
They did say that, yes. You know what it is? I think that, and I'll be the first one to admit this, I think that we have been so spoiled since December 12th, 2019 with Xbox news and what they've been able to do in 2020 so far, that we are almost psyching ourselves out. And I'll be the first one to stand up on the podium and admit that, like the last couple of Mondays, I actually stopped whatever I was doing and kept refreshing Xbox Wire.
Well, and it's kind of like what we were saying at the very beginning of the show with the very first topic. We don't want to say something that's going to get us too excited because, we just don't know what's going to happen. Right.
Right.
And a lot of that is because Xbox has already given us so much. We don't know, what they're going to give us next. And we just don't want to overhype ourselves. And that's kind of, I think, very related to the Inside Xbox is that we were all expecting huge things, and none of those huge things really happened.
Yeah, and that's true. And again, admittedly, not a problem admitting where I was wrong. I was expecting maybe, one announcement to completely blow my socks off. You know what I'm saying? Like we're so used to all of this amazing news that we're all racing to do videos on and racing to do podcasts on and get on social media and rah our favorite company, that when it didn't happen, we in essence have let ourselves down. We are responsible for feeling let down because, like Luke said, they let us know what to expect, so we wouldn't feel this way. But as human beings, we constantly do this to ourselves. So, Mr. Badbit, why don't you come in on the first half? Like what Luke was saying, did Grounded maybe appeal to you a little more, knowing that a single player campaign is not just being tacked on, it's being built from the ground up for people like me who enjoy a single player experience over multiplayer? So
I'm gonna walk in with this. I'm the PlayStation guy. Y'all saying it's disappointing. Y'all saying it's,
fight him.
I'm going to admit two things to you. A, I didn't watch this Inside Xbox because I was busy making the video. But I will say, I heard the quite opposite. I heard a lot of people coming out pretty positive on this. And from what I've been seeing right now, which we'll again talk about in the later half, as you guys were talking, I was watching the gameplay of certain games. And I want to go back to what Luke said earlier. There, with the Adam Boyes comment of, when they do a conference, they want you to look at 2 to 3 games going, I'm going to buy that. And that's a success. And I already see 2 to 3 games that I'm going to, or actually 3 games I'm going to legitimately try or buy. One being Gears Tactics.
We're talking about that next. Yes.
The Last Campfire. We'll talk about
that. Looks fantastic. Yes.
Journey to the Savage Planet.
I have not played. I'm going to play that when it comes to Xbox Game Pass.
My good buddy Alex Van Aken can't stop gushing about it. So I'm right there with him. I'm going to be playing that when that comes to Game Pass. So like there are 3 games right there that I'm going to play, and so that's a successful Inside Xbox. And Luke will attest to this. I'm usually the biggest critic of Inside Xbox because I think it's usually really cringy. I just get the games, host, stop talking, get the game, and again, what I've seen and what I've heard, and the one thing that I do want to say to this as well, when it comes about Grounded, I am for the most part loving the conversation around this game because so many people are like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna give this a try, and there's not too many negative voices about this game, and that's the thing that's getting getting me really excited is seeing that people are willing to give this a chance, A, because it's on Game Pass, and B, because it's beginning to prove itself.
Yeah,
and
I
if this
think Game
game's a
Pass
success,
has
this is a
decent.
small title made by 15 people. That's a huge win, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm up on this video that I didn't watch.
Okay, well, I mean, look, I want to say this. I want to bring this back around to and Mr. Bebe, I'm coming to you first. I'm going to come to you first because you mentioned it. So before I do, let me just thank a couple of people. First of all, Game Down Sites drops a very outrageous and generous $10 super chat. Says this: Grounded is like Sea of Thieves, cartoon style characters, but insane looking environments. Definitely changing my opinion on it. Also on Inside Xbox, why upset? Any news is great news, especially now. And you know what? I have to give this guy the golf clap because he's absolutely right. First of all, thanks for being here. Thank you for your outstanding generosity. But more importantly, thank you for your eye-opening comment, because I have to agree with him. Yes, I wasn't the biggest fan of everything they did, but there were some things on there. And I will admit, like I said, originally, Grounded was not for me.
Yeah.
But the minute they mentioned single player campaign and we started seeing some story elements, I was like, okay, now we have something to look forward to, because again, not to sound like a cheapskate or anything, it makes it certainly easier for me to take the splash to play this game, because I don't necessarily have to buy it. I know that's a jab that some people have been taking, for Xbox for years now, since Xbox Game Pass became a thing. But it also shows how important Game Pass is to the brand, that more people will get eyes and hands on the game because it's going in there day and date, which is something I hope Sony sees and eventually brings to PS Now. But I don't want to get off topic. Yeah. Let me just thank Hassan Buzzjade. Drops a $5 super chat and says this: they are working on a spider-free mode.
Nice.
So Zemi, you're saved, buddy. So you know what, Mr. Badbit, let's bring you back in here now. The second half of what we're going to talk about is they broke down the 5 things that you need to know about Gears Tactics, and I'm going to tell you this right now. I have always been an RTS guy. I don't play it as much as I probably should. There is one particular RTS game that I brought up on all the shows that I think a lot of people will not even know what the hell I'm talking about. But back in the OG Xbox days, there was an RTS, Aliens versus Predator.
Yep. And
it is, in my opinion, one of the finest games that no one ever played. And I always prayed and wished that would be backwards compatible in some form or fashion. It has not made the list. Maybe it will eventually. That game disc is worth over $100. I own it. It is an amazing RTS. I like the Lord of the Rings RTSs that were on the Xbox 360. I played those. And so when I saw that, because, the running trope with Gears is it's just more Gears. Well, you know what? The Coalition has brought something to the table that is so far from the same old in an RTS that I think that even RTS people that don't normally play RTS games are going to get involved with this, simply because it's so removed from just the regular Gears. And the fact that they broke down that you're not going to have to sit there and wait for everyone to do their turn. They made it fast, and it looks amazing. It's telling a story about Kate Diaz's father. I think it's amazing. There's a new bad guy in that will eventually, I would imagine, be brought forward into the Gears lore later on, possibly into Gears 6. And we know that it's coming on April 28th to Windows. Now, the most interesting part wasn't seeing what this game looked like, wasn't getting the confirmation that it's coming to Windows Game Pass PC on the 28th. The interesting part, and I think the most exciting part for me personally, is that they confirmed that it would be coming to console later on this year. And if you guys remember, or guys and gals remember, I have been banging this drum since the beginning, saying that Gears Tactics is going to be a launch title for the Xbox Series X. I've been saying that for quite some time, and I also said that we would get a new Forza, giving us the 3 pillars that everyone makes fun of to launch this console. Halo Infinite, Forza Motorsport 8, there's your racer, there's your first-person shooter. Oh, and PS, by the way, here's an RTS. 3 different genres, 3 different ways to get people excited to buy your console, and the 3 pillars that hold up the Xbox brand. So, Joe, what about the second half that I didn't mention? Because I know they talked about Sea of Thieves. There's the free Ship's Fortune update, which looks amazing. And again, admittedly, I don't play Sea of Thieves. I really wanted a single player campaign like they're doing with Grounded. I'm hoping that maybe in a future iteration that will come. You have to appreciate the fine folks at Rare who continue to crank out content to make this game playable and worth people's times. And they showed a bunch of new ID at Xbox games coming to Xbox Ones. And of course, what Luke was saying, that it got him excited, or I think might have been you, Joe, The Last Campfire, a dark fantasy game from Hello Games, which looked amazing. And of course, they have Hotline Miami, the collection, coming to the Xbox One through Game Pass, I believe. And that's very interesting. So, Joe, what about the second half made you even more excited than the first?
Let's talk about Gears Tactics.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay, gang. Listen, I'm gonna let you in on here on a little secret of mine. I'm a terrible PlayStation fanboy if I was one. Because Gears is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I have a replica Lancer in the closet.
I have one right above my head. Yeah,
he keeps it in the closet.
I mean,
I love it.
You rev the chainsaw, man. You just rev it and they'll run. And so my one love as well when it comes to PC games are RTSs. I love a good RTS. Age of Empires gave me the love of history and political science. Ironically, I love Civ 5. It's my favorite RTS of all time. XCOM as well, and this game is just screaming XCOM to me. And I am all over this game. I am all over what they're showing me. I'm on board with. I love seeing when it cuts back to your character after the tactical view, the kind of God view that you have of the battleground, and then it just cuts to the character. It's like you're watching Gears 5. That's the thing that blows me away is visually there is no disconnect between this game and Gears 5, and
the cutscenes are not to be believed.
Yeah, and like seeing the customization that you're able to do on each character down to the barrels of the weapons gets me so excited for this game. This is I've been championing this game since I saw it the first time when people are like, really? How much Gears do we want? I'm like, all of it. Just give me all the Gears, please, for the love of God. This is what I love to see from Xbox when they do something different with their popular IPs. Already on board day one. Like, again, I got it on PC, I got Game Pass on PC. I'm on board. When it comes to The Last Campfire, this is a game from Hello Games that, again, I've been super interested on, and it's giving me those cute, adorable vibes that I so often really want. So we're getting from blood and guts over to cute and adorable, and I'm on board. This game looks fantastic. It looks beautiful, and just the lighting and the color palette that they're using here.
It has is it me, or does it have an Ori type of vibe to it?
It has. You could definitely say that because it's using a lot of blues, it's using a lot of greens. To me, it kind of looks like oh god, goodness, it's another indie game that's coming out. Luke, you could probably help me out here, where you're the little wolf. It's kind of Link's Awakening love letter.
Oh, Tunic.
Yeah, it's giving me
it's a little fox. Yes, that's made by one person, by the way. One person's making that game.
So yeah, no, I think those two games 100% on board with. Again, I love what I've been seeing from Gears Tactics. There's nothing that's driving me away from it. And yeah, Last Campfire, I need to do well because it's in a fantasy league of mine. So
yeah, no, absolutely. It looks fantastic. Zemi Games, let's get you in on this particular topic. This is the second half. I thought it was the stronger half of the show, simply because the deep dive into Gears Tactics I didn't expect, and I'm happy that they did. I was already hyped for the game because I'm a huge Gears fan. I am in the closet kind of an RTS fan. And I just got to give a big shout out real quick to Mr. Teddy Key Game Channel. He says this, boom, I have Aliens versus Predator versus Marines for the Xbox 360. I have the disc and it plays on the Xbox One X. The game is backwards compatible. Holy shit, live on the air. If that's the case, I have to get to storage because I am going to play that game. I did not know if it was backwards compatible. But, getting back to the topic on hand, Zemi, I think that they closed out the show pretty strong. And again, the two games that really jump off the page here are, of course, Gears Tactics for what it is, because it's a Gears game, and it's a new type of Gears game, but also the Campfire game looks fantastic. The last Campfire looks like it's going to be it looks like it has the potential to be something very special. And I love the fact that it's an ID and Xbox game. I love the fact that it's coming to Xbox Game Pass. I think that it's going to do very well with its beautiful art style and its wide variety of puzzles that it's going to offer. What were your takes on the second half?
Well, I mean, like the biggest thing for me in the second half was definitely Gears of War or Gears Tactics. I love RTS games, but I've never really liked the turn-based RTS, like RTS, like Command and Conquer, Halo Wars, stuff like that. I've always loved. I'm a huge fan of strategy games just in general. It's just the turn-based ones I've never really been able to really find a love for. And so, walking into it, once again, very similar to Grounded, I was actually not 100% sure that I was really going to be interested in Gears Tactics. But after having the deep dive on there, seeing what those cutscenes look like, they look absolutely freaking fantastic. I mean, just like you're playing a Gears of War game, and even the graphics, over top look very, very well. And hearing a little bit about the story, a little tease on the story about you playing as Kate Diaz's father is one of the main characters, that completely drawn me in. So story wise, I was there, and I was still a little bit shaky on the whole gameplay elements, but them talking about having a ton of enemies on field. Giving I think each character on that you're playing as like 3 action moves instead of like the 1 or 2 traditionally from a lot of the turn-based RTS games that I've played. I think it's going to make a huge difference, and it's going to be more action-packed. It's going to be faster pace. Them talking about running up and doing executions to gain momentum for your team. I mean, I just think that all of that sounds like a very, very unique take on RTS, like turn-based RTSs that I have never played before. And so for that, I'm all in on I think the 28th of this month. It will be downloaded on my PC, and I will be playing it.
I don't know if I have the power to play it. I'm going to try because I hate to wait, and I don't have a rig, man. I have a Surface Pro 4. I don't necessarily know if it's powerful, but I'm going to give it the old college
try
effort.
it out. I mean, worst case
scenario,
play it on low settings.
Yes,
which isn't what you would ideally want to do.
No, I want to play it on my 65-inch HDR rich TV. Damn it.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But I mean, I'm actually really, really excited for it. I was probably more likely to get Gears of War Tactics than I was Grounded. But thankfully, after watching the Inside Xbox, I'm super interested in both. And I think one really big thing, and you were kind of talking about this earlier with one of the super chats, is Game Pass has allowed me to play Gears of War Tactics, because I can tell you right now, in no world would I go and pay $60 for Gears of War Tactics. Not because I don't believe that it's worth it, but because it's just not, I just don't have enough, I wouldn't have enough confidence in going and spending that amount of money for a game I just wasn't really 100% sure on, right?
Right.
And that's the joy of Game Pass, that I don't have to worry about that because I pay every month. I can just go and jump into that game and I can play it. If it's amazing, that's fantastic. If I don't really like it, then I didn't really really lose anything, right? And I think that that's one of the biggest things about Game Pass is it just gives you the value and the freedom to try new games that previously you just wouldn't have been comfortable dropping $60 on.
That's a great point.
And the campfire game, you know, as soon as I saw Hello Games, like I remember how they treated what was the
No
game?
Man's Sky?
No Man's Sky. I remember how they treated that game and just pretty much the flat out lies they told consumers. And so I was very, very hesitant, you know, jumping into that. And it's not really my type of thing, but I really do like how kind of somewhat cutesy it looks and just like the idea of like environmental storytelling that they're going to be doing in that. And as well as like the narrator kind of carrying the story along as you move your character around. I really think that that's very unique. And I'm not sure if Hello Games is an indie studio, but that game absolutely just screams indie to me.
I believe it's only like 2 or 3 people working on that at Hello Games.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I'll say this about Hello Games. No Man's Sky, I put when it originally released and everyone hated them and everyone didn't want to play it. I loved it so much. And not only do I have the collector's edition sitting right next to me, I love the game so much that I actually bought it on PC because they had a replica of the ship in their collector's edition. And I bought that as well. I wound up selling the PC version separately because, you know, I don't have a PC to play it, but I wanted that ship. So I've always been a fan of them. I know that they got a lot of crap for over promising and under delivering, but what they've done on the back end of that game is nothing short of from rags to riches kind of a story. And even though some people may think of Hello Games as that's all they remember is the ugly times of what happened with No Man's Sky, I love the fact that this game is only being made by a few people. I love the fact that it looks so whimsical. It looks so magical. Again, I got a tremendous Ori vibe from it, even though it's 2 different genres, 2 different games. I really did get that feeling like, wow, when this comes out, I am definitely playing it. Real quick, Luke, before I get you in on here, I have to thank 2 people. First of all, Daniel Lawson not only drops a very generous and outrageous $5 super chat, but what he says is so important that just brings us away from gaming. And I kind of want to just say it on the air. Giving a shout out to all the people out there working to make sure things are still moving. Special thanks to the healthcare and grocery store working community. And I have to applaud that because we don't say that enough. And I want you to know that I say it. As a matter of fact, I happened to go to the supermarket the other day. I went to Target. And on my way out, I made it my business to thank each and every one that I came across, to thank them for being there. Because right now the world is a very scary place, and they're out there. And I don't want to be over dramatic, say risking their lives, but in essence, they are. They're out there making sure that if we need milk or we need something for the house, whether that be Clorox wipes or detergent so you could do your wash or paper plates so you don't have to do the dishes, they're there allowing us to be able to come into the store. So a big stand-up thank you, a huge round of applause for that working community. And also, I have to bring up this very generous and unbelievable super chat from Angel Lau. And he drops a $20 super chat and says this: I'm a truck driver, and your show keeps me moving. The panel is always honest and well-informed. Cannot wait for Gears Tactics. Well, listen, dude, that is very generous of you. And I will also send the applause and thank yous to you, because without you being out there doing what you're doing, we could not have the things that most of us, and I'm not pointing fingers to the community, I'm pointing even at myself, that we take for granted. Being able to go into the store and buy a gallon of milk, it seems like second nature, but in these times, it's more difficult than ever. So thank you for doing what you do. But Luke, let's get you in on this. Gears Tactics looks amazing. It looks so good that I think that even people that aren't fans of that genre are going to be involved. They're going to want to play this game. Obviously, if you have a PC, you're not going to wait. I'm going to try. I don't think I'm going to be able to play it on what I have, but that's fine. I'll watch others. And I'll play it on the Xbox Series X when it launches with it, which I believe that's what's going to happen. What were your thoughts and opinions on the second half of the of Inside Xbox.
Oh man, for Gears Tactics, like you, I don't believe that my rig will run it by any means. I don't have a power PC, but I am curious to see if they'll drop Gears Tactics into xCloud, and that might make it available.
That's interesting.
Would they put xCloud on PC and make it available through that, or put it on our tablets? I don't know. I don't have any information on that, but I'm curious to see if they don't help pilot that way sometime this summer before it hits consoles, because I'm equally excited, and like all of you. As far as the second half of the show, the one thing we really haven't talked about much is the inroads that Microsoft seems to be making into the Asian markets by way.
You know
of
what? That actually, I have an entire other topic, and we are already 2 hours and 13 minutes into this show. I did not expect to have a 3-hour Xbox show. Depending on whether or not you guys have the time, if you want me to bring that up, we'll continue the show. It's not a problem. I just don't want to, force the envelope, and because it is a topic I had written for what's happening in the Asian market.
I've only got a few minutes left, but I will say that the Game Pass in Japan efforts are unbelievable. They are taking a new tactic for entering a new market, which I really appreciate. Not just via Game Pass, not just via xCloud, not just via games. It's a combination of all those things together with their good messaging. So I was pleased with the latter half of Inside Xbox in terms of information, not just the gear stuff, but they continue to support Sea of Thieves, which I appreciate. Forza Street was if you've played that game, it's not exciting. It's not good. But to have another,
they could have skipped that particular announcement. To be honest,
it seems odd when coupled with the other stuff. I do like the inclusion of Last Campfire, of the Hotline Miami out today is always nice to have in there. Again, the biggest news for me was the way that they are entering the Asian markets, which I think is the unsung hero of all of this, is the way that they're attempting new strategies to bring more people into their games. And I really am curious to see what Gears Tactics does with xCloud, because that PC market, the rig that you have, might gate you from from the Gears franchise or from a new genre. And Microsoft is all about removing gates right now, even with their
tearing down walls, removing blockades, allowing the gamer just to game. Yeah, that's a great point, Luke. Great point.
Yeah. So that was the last kind of major thing that hasn't been said just yet, and that was what I want to drop in.
All right. Well, listen, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to wrap up the show and get into the outros real quick. Game Goons drops a $5 super chat and says this: I personally think Microsoft did it to get a reaction from the competition, and it worked. And I would definitely agree with you there. First of all, we had almost 550 people watching live, which is just bananas. Every time we break records like this, it just really humbles me as a content creator, as a community member, that so many people enjoy the content, because it does. Trust me when I tell you, there's nothing like getting a pat on the ass to know that you're doing a good job, to make you feel, to kind of, I guess, hit the grind even harder in the next show. Obviously, Breakfast with Boom is going to be going live tomorrow. What I'm going to do is if you're interested and you want to know about what Xbox Game Pass is doing in the Asian market, I'm going to bring that topic to open up the show, because I think it's an important topic. It's one that I went into very specific detail and read about 6 different articles to put it together, and I don't want it to not be spoken about. So what we'll do is, if you're interested and it's something that you want to know more about, I'm going to bring that forward to Breakfast with Boom tomorrow. I'm going to make the announcement on who is going to be on that panel. So it's a very, very interesting panel. So let's get into, of course, the outros, and we'll start with Zemi Game. Zemi, first of all, thankfully, there are no spiders here that are going to hurt you, and I'm very happy to say that. But listen, dude, you bring it every time you're on one of these shows. We missed you on Tuesday, but thankfully you are rebounding from what was a terrible migraine. And if anyone suffers from migraines, and I do, I understand that you don't even want to exist when it hits its maximum carnage. And that's a little Spider-Man. I threw that in there. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, which you've been very active. I'm proud of you. And where they can check out your outstanding YouTube channel.
Well, absolutely. And I definitely missed all you guys on Tuesday as well. I really wish I could have been here. But yeah, so If you guys want to, definitely check out my YouTube channel. I do a bunch of gaming news, tutorials, let's plays, reviews, all sorts of gaming content. So definitely check out my YouTube channel. It's called Zimmy Games if you guys want. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at Zimmy Games. I've been posting a lot about food here recently. I've been cooking a lot of things at the house. You have.
The blueberry pie looked delicious.
Yeah, that pie was so good with some ice cream. Oh my God, that was good. So I've been making food, taking pictures, but I also, if I see a news article that I think is really interesting, I always, retweet it, and I post whenever I make any content myself. And then also my DMs are always open, so feel free to always send me a message if you ever want to. If you maybe hear something on the show that you liked, maybe you disagreed, always feel free to send me a message. I love interacting with the community and talking back and forth and figuring out, different people's opinions about different things, because, it helps you and me and everyone grow by listening to everyone's opinions. So I always appreciate any DMs I ever get. And yep, that's pretty much it. Boom. Thank you so much. This was a fantastic show, man.
Well, it was great. Certainly great to have you here. And let's get to Luke, because Luke's got to run. Luke, first of all, dude, thank you so much for taking the time, because we weren't sure originally if you were going to be able to make it. And of course, we did miss you on Tuesday because of the technical issues that were beyond our control. But like Zemi, like Mr. Badbit, you brought it like you always do. It is great to have you on. And I think more people need to get eyes and ears, just don't keep anyone's ears, on your podcast, because quite frankly, what you do is impressive. It is exciting. It's something new to listen to. You are, in my opinion, an up and coming rising star within the content creation community. And I think more people need to subscribe and listen to what you have to say. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but also check out your outstanding weekly podcast.
Oh, thank you, Boom. I really appreciate it. And it is good to hang out with you guys in the chat as well. You can find me on Twitter at Insipid Ghost. And that's always a fun place there for me. I love chatting with people, listeners, and gaming fans alike there. As far as the podcast, it's called the Xbox Expansion Pass, and I tend to focus on a very analytical look at the gamerverse as it pertains to Xbox, but then to expand kind of our knowledge of the gaming industry. Most recently, I had Andrea Renee of What's Good.
That was a great interview, dude. Very well done.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. She came on and talked about her roles as a producer and a host and a content creator. I've also had games journalist Rebecca Valentine on. I've had multiple ID at Xbox developers on to talk about their roles in the gaming verse. And so that's what I try to do with the podcast. And man, it'd mean the world if anybody would take the time to subscribe and check it out, because as content creators, man, we all make stuff outside of just this show. And it means the world when people take the time to give it a look and or listen.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and they should. And all of your information is right in the show notes. So once this posts live, if you're interested, you want to get over to see Luke and what he has to say, all you gotta do is click the link and make it super easy. Click it, subscribe, and trust me, adding a good, non-biased, well thought out and put together a podcast makes whatever you're doing more fun, whether that be working out, whether that be cleaning the house, because that's what I usually do. I have my phone, I set it up, and I do the cleaning in my home. And while I'm doing it, it doesn't feel so bad because it's a chore. But at the same time, I'm listening to whatever I like, the Iron Lords or the Basement Radio Arcade podcast or Dealer or Randall Thor, whoever. And it's always great. And of course, Luke has now been added into that mix of listening. And last and in no way least, making another return appearance. But Mr. Badbit, it is great to have you on. Love that you have such a broad sense of gaming, where you can talk about one company and not have to grind your teeth because it may not be your first company. And I'm talking about you being more so an Xbox, a PlayStation centric channel. But I want to stress this: if there is one particular PlayStation channel that you should check out, it's Mr. Badbit, because he comes at this from a rational and well thought out point of view. And I think that he definitely is someone you should add to your playlist. Mr. Badbit, tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check out your outstanding YouTube channel.
Yeah, man, you can find Bad Big Games over at YouTube, where we talk about all things game news, reviews, and unboxings. The latest video was about the PlayStation controller, where we broke it down, talked about my thoughts in the next generation in general. And also, you can find a show I do there called The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, of which I just recorded the latest episode, landed today at 9 o'clock in the morning with the great Khalif Adams from Spawn on Me. We talked a lot about the PlayStation controller, the fact that E3 digital event isn't happening, and the Last of Us delay. So if all that speaks to your fancy, again, it's talking about PlayStation, I know, but it's all things revolving around that ecosystem, and we have a lot of fun with that podcast. It's something I'm really proud of, where we can talk about our ecosystems without having to talk down to another and give props to them. We talk very highly of Xbox almost every episode, maybe even to a fault. So, there, Trophy Room, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever you get an RSS feed service, or on YouTube at Bad Bit Games. So there you go. And you know what I always forget? At Mr. Badbit on Twitter. That's even easier.
Yes, even easier to find you and listen to your stuff. Well, listen, folks, I'm going to put this out there right now. I'm going to be watching the interwebs come Monday morning. And if there is something that pops up that's as monumental as I'm hoping it will be, I will be doing a live stream whenever that I can get my hands on. And whether that's, in mid-afternoon, depending on when and if this happens, when and if, what time IGN drops this, because remember, they are in San Francisco, so they are on California time. So if they drop it at 9 a.m. their time, it's going to be noon our time. So I'm going to be monitoring that. And of course, I will be doing the advertising if we decide to go live. And I'll see if I can get guests. If I do it by myself, that's fine, but we'll see when that's going to happen. But of course, I want to thank everybody for being here. I have to thank the outstanding and unbelievable generosity that people have continuously shown my channel. It is truly and honestly and greatly appreciated. And of course, I want to wish everyone safety, health, understanding, patience, and more importantly, we don't get enough of this, love. So listen, enjoy yourself, be fair. And I'll close out with two things that my dad taught me when I was a kid, and I love saying it because I think now more than ever we need this. Treat others how you want to be treated. And also remember this, folks, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by these rules, and I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week on the newest and hottest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Take care, everyone.